Call to order for meeting of the Pownal Select Board, Thursday, June 9th, 2019. Or June 13th, sorry. I think I said the wrong date. 2019. So on the agenda for tonight is agenda approval. Approval of minutes for 5/23. Warrants. Reading of the mail. In regards to Fire District Number 2. Addressing their letter and a reply. Public comment period. The town administrator's report involving first presentation of revised policies. Health officer and zoning administrator positions are posted. Sign grants in aid form. Sign revolving loan paperwork. Sheriff's contract renewal. Approved transfer station attendant hire. Transfer station east solar paperwork. Signed cover letter for post closure agreement. Blacktop bid award. The September 17th housing fair. Review and approve revised personal evaluations. Safety committee report. TA to go to Peru, Vermont, July 23rd for risk management class. Then on to old business for discussion and selection of town office proposal. Treasurer's report regarding People's United Bank revised capital equipment note for the 2019 international dump truck purchase. Treasurer's report regarding follow-up on NEMRIC accounting system. Then new business for treasurer regarding approved insurance claim settlement to be ear tagged in the road capital projects fund until culvert can be repaired. Add a new line item to the FY 2000 budget for assistant town treasurer. Treasurer regarding FY 19 budget adjustments in 500 account in the amount of $1,197.86. Move to the audit fund. Personal policy discussion and insurance eligibility. Select board meeting schedule discussion, and then executive session if necessary for the Johnson Memorandum of Understanding for contractual issues. I don't want to say the names. Update on other legal issues and personnel.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to move the treasurer's information up if possible.
Both of them?
Everything under old business and new business.
Okay.
For those of you who weren't here earlier, today's Ellen's birthday, and we'd like to try to get her out of here so she could go celebrate.
She has requested that we don't sing happy birthday, but everybody else
but
is
everybody
welcome
else
to.
can. So I think that would be a nice gesture to let her get out of here and celebrate a little bit. If we can put that maybe before mail or right after mail.
I am fine with that. Do we hear, is everybody else okay with that?
That's good.
Yes.
All right. Your motion to change the, move that up then?
Motion to accept the agenda with the change.
I'll second.
And you guys want to just do that right off the bat before right after the warrants?
I think that would be
Yes.
Okay. Drawing lines.
Oh, yes.
Drawing a
Oh,
picture.
and Mr. Chair,
So, all in favor accepting the changes to the agenda as stated?
I have one more change that I'd like to recommend.
I suppose.
Because we always seem to go long in our meetings, I'd like to try something new, and I'd like everybody to just bear with me and support this idea. In all the meetings I've ever facilitated, we have time allotted for each line item to help move the meeting along. And I drew up a little meeting and added minutes to it to try to move us along, because this is a very lengthy agenda this evening, and I'd like to give it a whirl. I know.
Yeah,
I'd like
you were
to give
only
it a
allotted
whirl.
30 seconds.
Right. I'd like to give it a whirl. So I have a mock one. I'll try to follow it the best that I can, but with your permission, I'd like to make a motion to approve it or accept the idea.
You guys want to try to speed up the meeting tonight?
Yes, I would appreciate that also. But of course with the caveat that if something requires more
Right.
discussion,
Oh, yeah.
we can
Instant.
always come in.
I did a best guess. So absolutely.
All right.
Okay.
But it would be
So-
nice to have somebody keeping track.
So I'm going to have my phone out tonight just so that I can time. Okay? I'll be the official timekeeper.
Boy, it's like you guys are sick of staying here till 11 o'clock.
Just a little bit.
I figured tonight was about 1.
Ooh, maybe. Let's do it.
Okay. Let's give it a whirl.
All right, so I will hear a motion to approve the agenda as stated.
Motion to approve the agenda as stated with the changes to move the treasurer up and try the time
All right.
slot.
There a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor of accepting the changes to the agenda as stated, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right. We're going to change the agenda. All right. So, everybody's had a chance to review the minutes. So, I'll hear a motion to approve the minutes for 5:23.
Motion to approve the minutes for 5:23.
All right. There a second?
Second.
I'll second.
All right. So we have a motion to approve the minutes for 5:23 with a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right. Minutes are approved. All right. So on to the warrants. I had my little cheat sheet. There we go. All right. So for payroll ending 5/26 in the amount of $9,778.77. Payroll ending 6/22 in the amount of $10,885.41. Payroll ending 6/9 in the amount of $7,998.89. Accounts payable 48 in the amount of $20,816.18. Accounts payable 48A in the amount of $3,635.69. Accounts payable 49 in the amount of $9,226.55. And accounts payable 50 in the staggering sum of $191,981.74. So, I will hear a motion to accept the warrants.
So moved.
All right, I'll hear a second.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the warrants as stated. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, so warrants are accepted. All right,
Bob, we're already gaining minutes. We've gained
Shh, you're
12
wasting
minutes.
time.
We're wasting.
12
Linda,
minutes.
the floor is yours.
Ellen?
Sorry,
Ellen.
Ellen.
But.
You
listen,
guys are
I'll-
interchangeable, it's okay.
Ellen,
Yes.
I gave you 20 minutes
I
for all
apologize
your
for that.
items.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, go for it.
So, under old business, People's United revised capital equipment note is because the wrong date was on the last note and I didn't catch it for deposit of the money released from the bank. On the last note we signed was July 15th release of money. We needed it released immediately so we could pay for the truck that we purchased. And we already have it in the budget for next year to pay our first payment. And if we released it in July, then the first payment would be for another whole year. So we would miss that first payment already budgeted. So they redid the documents. They were working on more than one document at the same time, and so we didn't get our money when requested. It will go in the bank tomorrow. I'm gonna drop the papers off, call Burlington, we'll have our money tomorrow to cover the check.
Do we have the truck? Do we
Yes.
actually have it right now? Okay, so
Yes.
we're in ownership of the vehicle.
We are in
now.
ownership. The check will be released tomorrow. You just signed the warrant for it. So the document is,
Buried.
In Mike's pile.
okay.
Okay,
So that's gonna take some of my 20 minutes because you guys have to sign all that.
well, that's okay. Do you want to move on to
We
the
can
next
sign
one while
while
you're
he's
digging it
talking.
out?
Yep.
We can sign and listen.
Yep. And the follow-up,
Thank you.
Ellen, well, wait a minute, back up, make motion to,
oh, you gotta make a motion to
Oh, that's
re-sign
okay.
that. That's
Sorry.
right.
All right. Hello. All right, so I'll hear a motion to sign the paperwork with the adjusted date as stated.
Okay, I make second that.
I said I'll hear a motion.
Oh, I'll make the motion. You said you made the motion.
Sorry.
I'll make
I
the
meant I
motion to
hear.
sign the new paperwork.
All right, thank you. I'll hear a second.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to sign the paperwork as stated. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
I'm guessing we have to sign it.
Yeah, we gotta
multiple
sign
places.
it
Make sure
multiple.
everybody,
Signs
two places,
everywhere.
yeah.
As you're signing that, just in a nutshell, that was just moving the expenditure to this fiscal year instead of next fiscal year, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
The last loan document should have stated it would have been released the next day when you signed the last loan document. But it was incorrect and it stated July 15th for the money to be released because I kept,
Which would have put it
Checking
in
the
the
bank.
next fiscal year.
which would have put it in the next fiscal year, correct?
Okay.
Okay, and the other paperwork has been shredded by me and the bank, so. Okay, can I move on while they're signing, Linda? You got all your motions? Okay. The follow-up on the NEMRIC system, I'm just making sure you guys are all good with the reports and you're understanding your reports, and to remind you, please, to contact me if you have an issue with a report or need more information that comes from my section of the job.
So while we're talking about NEMRIC reports, maybe this will help us. Who does which type of reports?
It depends on what you need.
Okay.
So I have no problem with the bulk email requesting stuff, and then, but don't feel like when one of us says, you know, here's our stuff and you don't get everything, that means somebody else has other stuff to do. As long as I'm in the loop, if it has to do with money, it has to do with the treasurer.
Such as not accounts payable, like deposits.
Deposits,
Okay.
expenditure, your expenditure report, your balance sheet, your revenue sheet. Those are me. Okay?
So balance
You want to know
sheet.
bank account information, that's me, that's money. I mean actual hands-on money. How much did you spend? Not how much did you spend in accounts payable last week, but how much did you spend on whatever line? If you need a detail of a line item that you have a question on, that's me.
Those are you.
My job as treasurer is to make sure there's money in the bank to pay the bills that our AP payroll person does.
Okay.
Okay.
So then, Linda, NEMRIC reports from the AP AR side of the house would be
Payroll, depending on what you
Be your
need.
warrants.
okay. Warrants. What else?
And the majority of the
Just
stuff.
so that if we have to ask for something,
Right,
we know
well, a lot
who
of the
we're- who
stuff,
we're waiting
a lot
for.
of the stuff that was requested last time, that's why I brought this up, is in your warrants for like AP and payroll. All the information, 90% of the information you requested listed out is in the warrant.
Right, but I think what we were looking for was the line item each.
You're not gonna
Each
get it broken
warrant-
down, it is in there. There is a breakdown of each line item in payroll and AP, which line it comes out. There's,
Which expenditure it's coming out of
it tells you right in the warrant.
on the warrant report, because when we were looking at
You
it,
can't- you
it was only showing
They're
us.
down there.
Yeah, they're down there. When we were looking at it, it was
This
only
is why,
showing,
this is why I'm on the,
like
no,
the date, the check
That's
number, the
because-
who, the amount.
that's
but
because
not
you're, no,
the
because you
what.
didn't go deep enough. Because
Okay.
you have to go to the report that tells you what you're looking for. So this is the warrant you sign, okay? This is who we paid, the date, the check number, et cetera.
Yep.
There's your check register. Here comes your accounts. It will tell you this was transferred to the general ledger. This is due froms. This is the ones that are holding our money for the muni retirement, federal taxes. That's all in the computer in the payroll, and it does it automatically. And then when you go to, so this is just continue, okay? I want to give you the easy one to read, the one that has all her little check marks on it to make sure that every check totals what it is. This is what gives you your breakdown of each bill. It's right here. Here's your line. Here it came from. You just need to know which account is which. 444 is O&M, 200 is road, 100 is general fund, 300 is your trust accounts,
So-
500s are special revenue.
Okay, so if we're looking at this one right here, so the expense line item is Aflac, which is the insurance.
So, right, we paid Aflac.
These are the different expenditures within that payee.
Right. These,
This is the money that came out of each one of these expense account numbers. Or, well, actually, it's only one expense account
it's,
number.
well, no, there's different ones.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Depending at, see, read the
Yep.
title of the
Yep, yep,
account.
yep,
It tells what it is.
So each one of these dollar amounts are related to this expense line item, this expense
Right.
line item, so on and so
Aflac's
forth.
not a good one to pick because the employee pays the whole thing anyway. It comes out of their paycheck.
Right, okay,
But that is the
so
one.
if I'm looking at this, how do I know what check that was? So I have to go back to.
There's nothing that's gonna give it all to you in one page.
Okay,
Okay,
okay.
okay. It's just not, and it might down here, but I don't think so. No, you're not gonna get it in one page, all pretty. It just doesn't do that. You have to,
So to cross-reference, and we'll just pick this.
pick something
one.
that's, you
Can
know,
we pick Comcast?
yes.
Okay, so there's no check number listed here, so I'm seeing that the vendor was Comcast. This is the line item, the expense number it came out of. Okay, this is the amount of the check that would have been cut. So if I go back to the first page.
If you go back to the check listing page, right there.
Yep, okay.
find
Okay, so it's the
Comcast.
third one, so then you can find.
Well, it's not
Comcast.
gonna be the third, it's gonna be
Oh, no, I'm
how
at
it
the
comes
third
out
page.
on
Okay.
the, yep,
Yep,
336.91.
okay, and then that's the check number.
And that's the check number.
Okay, and then we should see that expense account line item, not on the report in here, but on the next report decreased by that amount, or is it decreased immediately?
It's gonna
On the
add,
report that's in here.
it's gonna transfer, this
It
is
has to
AP, this
transfer
is a
from my
sep-
modular to hers.
Right, this
Oh.
is one module.
Okay.
So AP gets transferred to general ledger. When I accept general ledger, when I accept it in my general ledger, I go in and I click on it and accept it. As soon as I open it up, it pops up AP, payroll, whatever's been transferred to my ledger. I click on it, I don't manually enter it. It is automatically goes into those specific lines.
Line items.
Yes. So if you have an expenditure report from last week and an expenditure
Sure, report.
report from this week,
We should see the differentiation in. those-
unless I've had to correct a charge line that was incorrectly charged that shows up, especially in May and June when I'm making budget adjustments and I go, whoa, something's way overspent, I have to go back and see what happened. If that happens, because sometimes it does, you hit a wrong button, whatever, then we make corrections, we put it in, but then you can say, hey, this doesn't add up, why?
Okay,
And
okay. So it's
But
not
all
one
that's-
report, you have to look at multiple reports.
That's
to
what I was
get
trying to
that
tell you
number,
in
or
the email.
To be able to
So-
review that.
exactly.
Why would you be making budget adjustments?
I'm
Why
gonna
wouldn't-
explain that
why-
next.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to know, because I thought any adjustments we had to take and approve.
That's
and the
what we're
other
gonna do.
Part was, if we.
No, I'm not making a budget adjustment, I'm making an expense adjustment, excuse me, I might have used the, I can move, if by accident, the road fund was charged for the general fund telephone bill.
Mhm.
The auditors don't catch it before it goes to you, nobody all of a sudden I catch it. I make the journal entry to correct it to the right charge line. When I make a journal entry, I put it on the top of this, so you may have already signed off on those warrants, but I can still make that adjustment because it was charged to the wrong expense line. I am correcting stuff so that when my books are audited, town books, I should say, because I hate it when it's referred to my audit. The town books are audited, then they know this is why this was done. I have all the backup that shows this was actually, I make a copy of the bill, I make a copy of everything to back up any change I make. Okay,
That's just-
but 99% of the time that does not happen, but it does happen once in a while. And that's because when you go in your AP under a vendor that has multiple charge lines on it for different funds, sometimes it will pop up if Linda's interrupted and doesn't catch it. If sometimes the wrong charge line is actually
code.
written on a bill. That happens because you get interrupted. We're in a small office and people get interrupted all the time. So it's human error. And as we catch them, we fix them. And that is what we're supposed to do. So that's why we do that. We don't need approval to fix an expense line. We do need an approval to do budget adjustments.
Because I know the board, as far as the budget goes, I mean, if we're if we're overspending in one area, we want to know that, so we can hopefully adjust for future reasons.
Right, and
Right.
I'm the one that supplies you with the budget adjustments, and then when we go to budget time, you can have an actual to adjusted budget report that I can give you, so you can see where we made adjustments.
Right.
But you'll know because you're gonna compare what we spent last year, it's gonna show up. Okay?
Thank you.
So we'll get into budget, real stuff when we start that.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody understand that?
Yes.
Any other
Thank you.
questions on NEMRIC reports at this moment?
No, so it's warrants, AP, accounts payable, accounts receivable, and payroll
I
for
don't-
you.
I
Account-
have utility billing. It's not accounts receivable.
Oh, okay, utility billing
Yes.
and payroll.
And payroll for
Payroll.
the majority, depending on what you're asking for from payroll.
Does that include benefits like retirement plan? credit
Retirement plan
union?
is me.
Okay,
Credit union, the town, that's money that's withheld from employees that wish to be in the credit union.
is that you? Or is that Linda?
That's the
It's-
employees.
It's the employee's money.
It comes
doesn't
out
Oh,
of
have
okay,
to
I'm
do
sorry,
with the
I'm
town.
sorry, okay.
It's a deduction out of
Okay.
their
It's
check.
a deduction
Yeah.
out of their check. It has nothing to do with the town budget or anything.
Okay,
So any reports related to warrants, AP, utility billing, or payroll, Linda, all the other
Municipal
stuff is-
retirement, anything to do with municipal retirement, information, I do those quarterly reports and et
Okay.
cetera. I do all quarterly reports that are tied into the payroll. And in the AP, I do the 1099s at the end of the year and anything like that. You email us and we'll
Okay.
keep sending you what you need, okay?
So if we're looking for a report, as long as we put both of you on the report, we'll get the right
We
person.
usually get
Okay.
the majority. The other thing is, a lot of, some stuff that you request is supposed to stay in the office. I can't just email you.
Right.
Which
some
is
stuff.
fine, which is fine.
That's-
When that
so I'm not
happens, can
giving
just
you
say
a hard
need to come in
time.
and look at it.
Okay?
Yep,
All right.
that's fine.
Very good.
But there is a list of reports that are just view only, right? I mean, it's one-way information.
And anyway,
No,
right,
no one
and-
here who wants a report is gonna be going in and adjusting anything. We're just looking for information to come out of it.
Right, you guys have access to computer and can be set up on it and come in and review any of this stuff in view only.
Right,
yes.
it's like that monthly budget, I could come in and run that myself.
You could come in and run that yourself if you wish, but it's just as easy for, I have no problem with you emailing me and asking.
Okay.
All right.
I have one more question.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we see the deposits? Where do we see credits going into, or
In the revenue report.
in the revenue report, which is?
You don't have in
Got that.
APs and payroll because that's something that I can give you.
Okay,
Just remind me to give it to you. I don't always hand it out because nobody ever read, you glance over them.
okay.
If you don't know what they're for or why they go up or down, you're not gonna notice, but revenue reports do, and I will supply you with one. If you could pop me an email, I'll send you one. It was in the packet I
Is
gave
that
you at the
something
beginning.
that can be in with the warrants for us
No.
to look at, or? Okay,
It can be in the mail, yes.
okay. So it's something that we can just get at the meetings. You guys good with that?
It's not gonna show you a breakdown, it's just gonna show you a lump sum total of how many taxes are collected, or how much we got total in a grant money from the state or something like, it's gonna be a lump sum amount.
So there's no
I'm-
way to provide a report that breaks down all the monies coming in?
About 70 to 100 pages every time I print it, if you want detail. If you need a detail on a specific thing that you're looking for change, request that specific detail.
Is it like one big lump amount, or is it?
No, remember all those reports I
Yeah.
gave you at the beginning? One of them is revenue. If you don't still have it, ask me, I'll send you a new one.
Right, okay, so it's
Okay.
not something like that's refreshed every week or whenever you do the
Yeah,
deposits?
it's refreshed whenever I put the money, when I do a deposit and I go to the bank, I
So
put the
you
money.
can't, so
in-
I don't mean to interrupt, so you can't run a report for like a specific time frame? Like, give me all the money that was deposited last week. So what is it, like the 6th through the?
They go to
12th?
different line items. So each line item is, if you want a detail on each line item, you could end up with several pages.
Okay.
That's why I said if you want to know that, you should get set up and come in and do your read only when you get a chance. I don't mind doing some details if you have specific ones you're looking at for revenue reasons.
I know I asked the question about the 500 account, and that was because things started showing up in it. And
Because we only spend it at certain times a year.
Right, but there was, my question, but the specific question was more around the expenditure than it was the revenue. If I understood it correctly, that was a revenue account, so that's where we have incoming money, but I did see a couple of expenditures out of it.
It was the one that you questioned was the Spark grant. It was grant money put in that account, specific accounts for a specific purpose. When somebody spends the money out of the Spark grant, we have to reimburse them for that money. Or if we get a grant and we put it in there
Okay, so,
and we spend the money, it creates a due to, due from. So all the money comes out of the general fund. So then
So you'll get an expenditure line, and then at some later date, you may get a revenue line on another line item that is supposed to offset the expenditure. Is that correct?
no, the money came in from a grant, $825.
So
No,
here's
but my
revenue.
question,
Here's your revenue, it came in, it's
no, I,
ear tagged on one side, and then
For
when
a
I spend
specific
it-
purpose.
When I spend it out of that same line, It's an in and out.
I get that, but
It's
on
gonna
the
show up
monthly
on your-
report,
so
2 months ago on that monthly report.
On the expenditure report, it showed up.
No, the expenditure showed up, but the revenue didn't.
Because there's no revenue, it's already in the
The
bank.
revenue's been there, waiting
It's
to be
been
spent.
It's not a
waiting.
revolving thing.
It's
just
not a revolving, the money was already in a
Okay.
bank account.
All right, and the only thing that
specific
caught
bank
my eye
account.
on it is because normally when I'm looking at all of the other accounts, I'm looking at a budget amount and then where we're tracking against that budget.
You
And this
can.
had a budget of 0 and
Right,
an
because
expenditure.
it's a special revenue account. Grant money, we can't budget for because we don't know we're getting it.
Right.
Okay, all right, I get it.
And I'm guessing
They
because-
applied for a grant. I had to hold it because I was requested to hold that grant money. And as it's spent, we don't budget for 500 accounts. We only budget road, general, and wastewater. Those are the only ones the voters vote on.
Right, and they're the only ones I've been reporting on, so, and I just
Right,
want to make
so
sure
the-
that I was doing that right.
Right. The 500 account is monies, grants that need to be specific that aren't in the road. So those grants are specific for the general fund. They fall under the general fund qualifications. They're put in the 500 special revenue in their own bank account. They can't draw interest. And we can only spend them for the specific purpose they were granted for.
Right.
That makes sense. Thank you.
All set?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, so there is a insurance claim that was claimed on a culvert that was hit on Strohmeyer Road.
Yep.
I haven't received the money yet. Joel has,
I got paperwork.
yep, Joel has requested that money be earmarked specific for that, so it should come in, whether it comes in this fiscal year or next fiscal year, that money's gonna come in. I would like to put it, you guys to make a motion to put it into excuse me, culvert fund. We have a culvert fund. And on the fund balance sheet that I give you, that breaks all the different funds down, I'm going to, right under the culvert fund, I'm gonna put Strohmeyer culvert insurance claim, the money that comes in, so that we know, and I want it in the minutes that he can, because he wants to use it to fix that
Right,
culvert.
he wants to make the repair.
If it just comes in as an insurance claim as money,
Right.
and you guys don't do anything with it, it goes into
It-
undesignated funds,
it's gonna
and
get
it's not
absorbed
earmarked
elsewhere.
for it. It's
Okay.
absorbed elsewhere.
Correct.
He wants to make sure this money
Right.
goes where it's
Nope.
supposed to. So if you could make a motion that it goes in the culvert fund,
Mm-hmm.
that would be wonderful. I know you don't have a money amount, but I will
Right.
supply you with I don't have a money, I know what we're supposed to get, but I don't,
But we don't
until we
actually
get
have
it.
the check.
So
Right.
you can't make a motion with a
yeah.
dollar
The dollar
amount,
amount.
but I will give you, I always give Linda a copy of the check when it comes in.
Do we know the
So
name of the
that-
insurance company?
Pardon?
Do we know the name of the insurance company, payee?
His insurance company?
It's
in the-
The paperwork
There's a
is
sheet
in
in
your.
our
Okay.
packet
Right,
on the-
okay, so I just need it earmarked
so-
for that specific purpose.
Motion to approve insurance claim settlement to be ear tagged in the road capital projects fund until culvert can be repaired.
And-
No, we're gonna
no,
put it
in
in
the
the
culvert.
culvert.
In the
In the
culvert.
Culvert
In the
fund.
culvert fund.
Fund.
I mean, you
Can
can
we
do
add
either
as
or.
long as,
No, it's
when
fine.
the expenditure, when it's used, that it's specified that we know that money's being used?
You'll know
Yeah.
because we're gonna,
It's-
it's gonna have,
It's
on my
earmarked.
fund balance
You'll
sheet,
tag it.
Earmarked and-
on the fund balance sheet, it's gonna show
You're gonna
that we
write it.
spent the money.
Okay,
Cause it,
yep,
And
I'll
also,
I'll
second
make
that.
sure.
when I do the account payable and I start paying the expenditures associated with
It
it.
will say
it will
Strohmeyer Road
Strohmeyer,
culvert.
Yeah.
culvert, okay.
Okay,
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion to approve earmarking or tagging the insurance payment for the culvert. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All
Aye.
opposed? All right,
okay, and I'm gonna ask that under new business B, just be removed about the assistant treasurer until I can give you the information that I wanna have to back that up.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? There's no sense having discussion on something when I don't have
Yep.
paperwork that I think you need. Okay? And then on to, so I had Linda put this
Okay.
in your stuff. So every June, I put together, I go through the expense report for the general and the road funds. And the ones in red are overspent. The ones in black are the accounts it's coming from, okay? by law, we can move money around budget line to budget line as long as it's not a fund money, as in the culvert fund, can't go to cover overtime. Okay, so that you understand that. So I don't need you to approve each budget, because there's gonna be another one of these. We still have July and August where bills come in and I accrue them back. So we may have to do another budget adjustment, but this is the majority. This is my best guess of where we're gonna stand. It's just moving money from one budget line to the other. I used up the contingency money because most of that was already used up in pay raises and stuff, other budgets that were budget adjustments that had already been approved, okay? Yes,
So,
ma'am.
so the items in red, that's what we're over.
That,
And
no,
we're-
it's not exactly what you're
Well, it's
over,
a
but,
best guess what we're over.
or it's going to be that much
to,
over.
To that line item.
To that specific line item.
Okay.
Okay, and then the other ones have extra money in them that we haven't spent, that I don't think we're going to spend, so it's my best adjustment that I can make. I try to take it where,
But we don't actually have to take the money and move it from any account to any account.
it's
because
a
it
budget,
theoretically-
it's all in the same money.
Right, it's all the same dollar amount. I'd rather end the year, which I guess we're gonna be coming up on that in what, 2.5 weeks? End the year knowing where the variances are.
You're
And be
gonna,
able to explain the variances and
We-
then
you'll
budget
have it.
the line items closer, as close as we can get next year.
you're going to do that at budget time. This isn't for the next, the next budget we're going into, we've already set the budget for. It's already voter approved. This is, we're wrapping up the budget we're in right now.
Right.
We need to make budget adjustments.
So
This is what you do every year. Every external accountant, the accountants, the outside auditors,
Yeah.
do know this. This is part of the audit.
Now, do we usually do that in executive session?
No, you do not. You just,
No.
you read it. It's, alls I need is a motion to do this.
I guess.
And after I do it, I can give you a report that's gonna show actual
Yep.
voted budget,
Yep.
budget adjustment, new monies.
All right.
It's all the same money. The voters have already approved all this money that's happening.
I understand that, but my peeve, I guess, and maybe I'm overstepping or cutting it too thin, is that, like, say it's it's Joel's budget. I'd like Joel to be here to explain
Joel
as
doesn't,
far as how we're gonna, because if he's already got money
when we do
allotted
the
for
budget
something,
time, when it comes budget
know what I'm
time
saying?
again, and when
I
it
don't wanna
comes-
take money from
Right.
an area that he's already earmarked for another project, and that's where I'm going.
It's June 13th.
Okay.
Any
That's
money
where I
that's
was-
being moved is not earmarked for anything because it's not coming from a fund.
Okay.
Okay,
I
so
understand it's not coming from a fund, but he put it in a line item for a reason, I guess. Is where
and
I'm
we
going.
didn't spend it.
Okay.
Okay, all we're doing is moving it from one line item to another. If for some reason something crops up in a week, and that happens, that's why we're still going to have more budgets. This isn't wrapped up. This is the start of my audit. Okay, when our auditors that we just hired come in, one of the first things they're going to ask me for is my budget adjustments.
I just, as a personal note, if I was Joel and say I had a maintenance budget and maybe I haven't touched it right now because I haven't scheduled the maintenance until the end of the month, and you've moved the money around.
But I didn't take all the money out of any
I'm just-
account that
But that's
we're.
what I'm just
Right,
saying.
I
And
understand.
then also he goes, and next thing you know, that one's in the red, and it wouldn't have been in the red if we hadn't moved the money. That's where I was going with. That's all.
I have to start budget adjustments now, because once we start accruing and stuff, it's just part of what is done in our accounting
Just,
every
Maybe
year, because we did this, Bob.
Right. We did it last year too. So, and just to make it a little clearer, the 200 is the road, the 100 is the general fund, and anything you're suggesting that we move around, the budget adjustments here have to remain within the general fund.
And within the,
road fund.
right, I'm not
It's
taking
not
road
from
money
to
for the
another.
general, you
Right.
can't
It
move.
absolutely has to be within the
Right.
same fund.
And if I if I made a typo, I will come back. I have checked it. I'm sorry. I'm having a lot of problems working longer hours right now, so I apologize if I made a typo or there's an error in something. I won't move that money. I would come back in and ask you to reapprove it again. It won't be my first time I've had to. It's not going to be my last.
We're the ones that answer to the voters, that's all. That's why I'm asking the
Actually,
question.
She
You do
does too.
I know
answer
you
to
do
the
too, but
voters
at the
for-
bottom line.
Yeah, but it's still the same
so,
money.
I understand that.
It's,
just
you're
what-
not adding money.
Hey, Ellen,
I know we're
I
not
have a
adding
question.
money, it just.
Why do we put so much in the contingency budgets? Just out of curiosity.
Because it's a percentage of the overall budget, and
Okay.
we actually should put more.
Okay.
So
Yes, actually.
because the budget is too high. Said the
I'm like
conservative.
looking at both accounts and I'm going, why is there just so much in the contingency budgets? Like, why are we putting so much in there if we need it elsewhere?
It's to cover our overages
It's to
throughout the
cover
year.
when and
Right.
I'm gonna back up here a second because some stuff has happened that so as treasurer and the money, I need to know what's going on with the money. So when the board does approve, especially in May and June, we're wrapping up a budget. So in May and June, when we know that some money's gonna be spent and you guys have approved it, I should be notified of it. And there's some that have not been notified that happened in here, and I about had a meltdown this morning when I was doing budget adjustments and found it. And
That the board approved?
yes, that I know of. I can't find it in the minutes. I looked.
Could you
Because
give us an example? I'm just curious. And if you don't want to, we can take it off record, but I'd like to know what we approved that wasn't budgeted for.
well, I can't find it in the things, so I don't know what really happened. But anyway, so just if something happened, I need to be notified. So if I'm not included in it, I'll backtrack to that.
Thank you, I
I'm-
appreciate that.
I'm thinking my
Because I'm
thoughts
thinking,
before I
I'm
open
thinking
my
we all
mouth.
want to know what is
So-
this dollar amount that we,
So when something is approved and I'm not notified, and I already have given heads up to people, that's probably my time up. I've already given heads up to people that our budget's tight right now in the general fund, so it's in the general fund. So in the general fund, I've already said, hey, we gotta, let's pay attention. Julie, don't order this. If we need supplies, let's make sure that somebody else doesn't have them in the office. Or just tighten up the budget for the last couple months because we were cutting it close on some stuff. We still are cutting it. Now we're cutting it even closer. And I wasn't notified, and I didn't know about it, and I did have a little. I was like, So, it's just important when I say to people, hey, listen, we need to tighten up the budget. We're not short, but we're not overspent. But let's not be overspent.
Yeah.
As long as I've been treasurer, we've never been overspent, and I choose not to be. I would never want to have to borrow or cause the taxpayers more money. So I really do the last 2 months, and I have worked very hard to keep an eye on this, especially since I had other stuff going on, trying to make sure that the town stays in. Let's stay on the positive side of everything.
could you
So-
come to the next meeting and give us the information, seeing we've
I
just
have it here.
told the public, oh, okay, you've got it.
Oh, I have
No.
it. It's in your budget adjustments.
Right, but what did we approve that we,
I don't know.
that's what
I
I'm saying.
can't
Well, it's not,
find it in your minutes. I was informed that it was approved, and I can't find it in the minutes. So it's something that I would prefer to take into
Sure,
executive
Executive,
session
okay, that's
on a
fine.
different date, please.
Right.
Sure, no problem.
If you want to go take it farther, you may take it farther and do that. Let me know if you want to do that. But I do not wish to discuss stuff outside.
That's fine. We can do that in
Okay.
executive. That's fine.
That's why I asked that.
Sorry,
No, that's perfectly reasonable.
Okay, thank you.
I don't want no he said, she said. I don't want no problems. I just want you to know that if you do approve a budget, where I'm going with this, is if you do approve an over expenditure on a line, anytime I should be notified. Because that means we have to make a budget adjustment. We can do it at that time.
Right.
like we did with the raises. We knew that it was gonna go over because the raises hadn't been way down the, last year. Wasn't approved for the amount that was given, so we made the adjustment out of the contingency. Contingency is there in case of unexpected over expenditures. That's why we are required to budget it, because it does happen.
Okay,
Okay, so
thank you.
I like to, sometimes I'd rather do them as we go. A lot of the stuff doesn't happen until the end, the last 3 months, all of a sudden, you're like, oh, I need stamps, what am I gonna do? You have to go over, or I need something. We try not to go over our budgets, but if it does, and there's other places within the budget, it's one general fund, so when it goes to vote, when we go to vote for our budget, you voted, it says general fund, X amount of dollars and this much to be raised by taxes.
Right.
The rest comes in from the revenue side. So, so we can move.
I understand
It's
that.
our
I
best
just-
budget.
I understand that. I just
Joel's
like
good
to-
with my budget adjustments.
Well, I'm just
Just to
using
let
Joel.
you know.
I'm just using Joel as an example. because-
Right. But he is
But
good with my budget adjustments.
I
He
know
has
with
no
the state,
problem.
we get the same thing.
Yes, I understand.
Come May, they start saying, emergency stuff only and whatnot, so.
So
Yeah.
this, but
I'd rather, to what Harry's saying, I'd rather you buy what you need to buy if it's critical to operations and, redline it, have an
But-
explainable variance.
Right.
But be notified about it.
right.
We all have to be on the same
I,
page.
we're
all
fine
have
with
to be,
that, but we want to
okay.
make sure that we are in the know when that happens. I mean, if
And I
you-
want to be sure I'm in the know, because when
Yep.
I'm not in the know, I'm the one that knows for sure that we have X amount of dollars.
I mean, we can look at it and say your computer can crash tomorrow. You need
Right,
it to
I
function.
still need to know
we
other stuff.
You need to
So,
go buy a computer.
Right.
We get it.
right,
We just
so,
want to make sure that we know that, we see it.
right,
Okay, thanks.
okay. So my budget adjustments that I'm making are basically the lines that 90% of the time won't have anything else done to them. The rest of this,
Right.
this FY 19.
Right.
I had to think. Thank you, Linda. So, and it's just it's an accounting.
So what's the right
And
way to say this? Is it, I motion that we accept the budget adjustments as presented by the town treasurer for the general and road funds?
Yes,
That sounds
I'll
about right.
second
that is what's supposed to happen.
All right, was there a second?
I did. Second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to accept the budget adjustments for fiscal year 19 as presented by the town treasurer. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Thank
Yes, happy
you.
birthday. And we have you out of here before 8 o'clock.
You did great.
Bartender's not
Thank
there,
you.
so you can't get a drink.
Thank you. Oh, hi.
Way back
There,
to
it
the
is.
top
There it
row.
is. I was gonna say I lost my agenda.
So now the.
All right, so on to the fire district number 2 addressing the letter. So,
Thank you, Ellen.
Bye.
That window, that would be cold on you.
we can, and thank you to Donna and Mark. There you are, Mark. So, thank you two for coming. I wasn't gonna read the letter because it's not addressed to us, but we can have it entered into minutes and made public record if that's okay. But anyway, so just a little statement and then we can go from there. So, thank you for coming. We wanted to acknowledge that the select board is in receipt of a copy of a May 7th, 2019 letter from PFD number 2 addressed to Ellen Parr Doring. I apologize if I pronounced that wrong. Deputy Division Director for State of Vermont Drinking Water and Groundwater Protection Division. As you should be aware, the Town of Pownal Select Board and the Town of Pownal Administrator have absolutely no authority over PFD number 2 water system. We see that you appear to be faced with a sort of delay from the state of Vermont regarding your permanent filtration system, and we're wondering if the intent of CCing us on your letter was somehow an outreach for assistance for the town. We want to know that if you need any assistance from us to help clear the hurdles you are facing, to please let us know and we will do what we can to support you, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank
Perfect.
you.
We're out of here now. Yeah, so basically the whole purpose was trying to get some forward progress.
Oh, Donna, I'm sorry. Would you introduce yourself to the
Donna
Camera.
Lozon, Vice Chair of the Fire District. So the purpose of that May letter was coming off the heels of some banner articles, which I think led to a little bit of confusion between an RFP for North Pownal and a few weeks prior there had been an article about our fire district deciding on where our permanent filtration system would be.
Right.
And so with all of the confusion, we really wanted to have forward progress. The ratepayers of the fire district have been waiting very patiently to get things going. And we wanted to make it clear, because it hadn't been addressed, that we had decided not to bring water to North Pownal, that our duty is to the ratepayers of the fire district. And I think, you know, I feel pretty confident we've gotten some really good feedback from the state that they support that. And of course, there are elements that are beyond our control. But I think having you guys to sort of be like, yeah, you know, if we can come to you with announcements if there are things, because our meetings are recorded but not televised. And
Absolutely. Anytime you want to come make an announcement, contact Linda, get it put on the agenda. You're more than welcome to come here.
Yeah, and we do, you know, if folks really have questions or concerns, because we are our own municipal corporation, we have our own set of bylaws, we do have our own meetings, and they're the first Monday of the month at 6 p.m. At the Rescue Squad. And we encourage folks to come if they have questions or concerns, and to try to avoid any miscommunication or misunderstanding.
Question, do you guys post your meetings for your municipality group?
Yep.
Do you
It's on the town
piggyback
calendar.
the towns? I mean, do all your ratepayers know where to go to find your meeting
Yeah,
information?
we usually put a posting here at the town hall.
Okay.
And Front Porch Forum and then Winchester's.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then how do you communicate to folks who aren't able to come to your meetings, because I'm guessing they're not televised?
No, we're not
No.
telling.
Do you have a website where you post your minutes and stuff too? No.
No.
Luckily, our secretary is pretty
Yeah.
pretty well known, and people call her directly if they have questions or concerns. We get a lot of actual letters too if people have questions.
I'm also available. People can call me anytime.
Right. So under the state rules, do you guys have to follow the state rules, like the select board and the planning commission and all that, where you have to archive your minutes and make them available, or no, you don't have to?
We have all of our minutes available. We
Okay.
have our own.
It's all public
bylaws.
information.
Okay.
But if I understand it correctly, you're private though.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
you're
Right.
private. so
That's
you
that's
don't
why I
fall
was
under-
wondering.
So although you do those things, it's not required.
It's not
because
required.
You answer to your ratepayers,
Right.
not to the public and not to the taxpayers.
Right. That's
Just
what
best practice
That's
to
what I
hold on to it.
asked, was whether or not they're. Yeah. That's what the question was. Okay.
Transparency is always the best
Yep.
policy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed.
No. Like Ryan said, if you need to get the word out about something,
Did we keep
come
it
on
under
down.
10 minutes?
Thank you.
I'm not worried about it. I'm prepared to be here till 10, 11, 12.
So the
Okay.
state's finally giving you the green light, it sounds like?
Not totally yet, but they are assisting us
With
with
your-
other
Yes,
matters.
they're being very supportive.
Approve
Is
your
there
plan
anything you
and
need from us? Like
Right.
a letter to the state or anything? Yeah, anything we can help you with is help you along.
To speed it up, or
Not really. There was just a lot of confusion before.
Right.
with
We
this.
just wanted to make sure that something we did or didn't do was holding you up, because we're not trying to hold you guys up on
I know.
anything.
because your letter said time is of the essence, because you need to get your contractors in to get the work done.
Because
So
we had been hoping that things would be moving along sort of as soon as the ground was able to be worked with. And our concern was that the RFP that was coming through would interfere. People were getting some mixed messages that the RFP to North Pownal suddenly meant that the fire district was going to bring water to North Pownal, when we had actually voted not to do that.
not to do that.
Not to participate.
I think that
Okay.
there were some mixed signals there, and we
Right.
wanted to make sure people knew what was going on.
But the RFP
Especially
came
our
from the
rate.
state, not us, though.
Right.
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 I
Just to
just
clarify
wanna
that the
make sure
RFP, that the town
everybody
of
understands
Pownal had
that.
nothing to
The
do
way
with that
that- But
RFP.
there were some conversations in the banner that
Right.
made it sound as though we could easily hook on to the fire district, and we had already voted unanimously not to do that.
Okay.
Right.
And any movement in that direction would actually delay the clean water going to
Right.
Pownal Fire District 2, which is what really makes it time sensitive.
As of right now, we're still on a temporary system,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going on 3 years on a temporary system.
Okay. Thank you.
So,
Right.
Thank you both for coming
you,
in and
guys.
helping clear all that up.
Thank you.
So again, if there's any ever time you need to come address us, you're more than welcome
Thank you
here.
very much, appreciate it.
Public comment.
Yes.
We have a big crowd here tonight.
All right, so
You
time to
have
open it
some
up
more
to public
mail
comment.
You have
Mail.
some more
Mail.
mail phones.
Oh, there's one.
Yes.
Sorry, there was nothing else.
Mr.
listed.
Chairman, I have the month of May, the Bennington County Sheriff's report. I have not had time to break it out for you in detail, but I'll pass it around. You can have a look at it. We have a bunch of letters. You had mentioned that you wanted to discuss the policy on whether to read or not to read letters. Because if you'd like me to read them verbatim, I'll be happy to do so.
We haven't been consistent, and I don't think it's fair because we haven't read other people's letters.
No, that's true. If we're gonna start doing that, we need to set like a date by which we're gonna start doing it
We can
then.
like scan them and put them on the website or something.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
that.
Yeah.
I think letters that come addressed to the select board, we should make, public record.
The preponderance of the letters have to do with pro or con ATV.
Right.
Basically. And then Mr. Walter Klinger, he attended a conference, as did I and Shannon McLenathan, and there was a great lecture on taxable income from buildings, what buildings generated more tax. So when we're doing community planning, focus on things that are going to pay more taxes for services. So he wanted to report on that. We also have a bite report from the health officer, extensive bite report from a dog, and that's been managed. And you also have from the Department of Health a letter recommending you appoint a new health officer. We've got both the health officer and zoning administrator positions on the internet. Nobody has responded to those yet, but if someone...
Not a one, huh?
Neither one.
Really?
No.
So,
I'd like to make a recommendation as it pertains to letters and items that are in the mail, because I guess I'm a little bit confused. When letters come in, I think we as a board should not necessarily have a photocopy, but it should be passed around when we're here early to look through mail and sign warrants so that we can read them.
That's why.
That's what, and that's what that is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And then the expectation, and this is just a recommendation, is that the town administrator, on behalf of the select board, sends a note to the people sending the letter, letting them know that we've reviewed it and we've acknowledged it at least, so that they know they're not just falling by the wayside.
Do you already send a letter of acknowledgement or not?
No, I do not.
And then we keep those letters on file so that, if somebody feels that their concern hasn't been reviewed or that we're ignoring it, we at least have the incoming and the outgoing. That's just my personal feeling. I don't know how you guys feel.
Well, I agree that we need to respond to anyone that sends something in, just to acknowledge that we have it. Absolutely. I think we ought to move pretty quickly toward deciding how we're going to address them on the board. When we go through the mail, how are we going to address them? Are we going to read them verbatim? Are we going to address the overall gist of it? And then see if there's any discussion revolving it.
I had a little bit of thought on that, and my thought was to actually almost require people that are sending a letter specify, do you wish this to be read at board meeting, or just, discussion behind the scenes?
Well,
Because some people may not want to have their letter addressed.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Openly.
true. So I think
Right.
I think that's the discussion we have to arrive at a policy. Because on the flip side of that, and I think we talked about it before, was there could be things that are just dissertations that
Yeah,
you
just
don't
a
want to
rant.
go into a 20-minute rant. But at the same time, you want to make sure that you address those. But even if you're not reading something verbatim, you can say, I received a letter, and it's generally, this is what it's saying, it's in the direction of.
Yeah,
And then the
give a
person
brief
has the
summary of
option
it.
to come
Right.
in and.
Michael?
Mr. Chairman, if you move towards paraphrasing, I would prefer you didn't, because that would put me in a position where someone could say that I'm leaning pro or con against a particular issue. Because then I've got to paraphrase it, and I've got to figure out how to do that.
I think we just send
Well,
a
but,
letter to the recipient and let them know that we've received their letter, we've reviewed it, thank you.
It's under
If there's any
consideration.
further action that they would like, then they
should come, because sometimes people might write something negative about an employee of the town. Well, we have to
Right,
do an
there's reasons
investigation to
why.
see if it's valid. I would hate to read that or even post it on the website, because then that could be considered slander.
Right, but I wasn't
So-
suggesting I was not suggesting that you would do some sort of paraphrasing, but you did that just now.
Pretty much.
And it was pretty, and it was pretty good. We received a couple of letters on ATVs and some feedback on ATVs.
Yeah.
That's
mean,
how I
that-
would enter it into the minutes, that two
Right.
letters were received regarding ATV use, period.
Right. So,
Shall I scan them? Or,
can I,
send them?
well, one thing, the vast
Email
majority of
to
the
us.
mail that we get is email, right?
A lot of it.
There's a fair amount that literally walk in here and
Yeah.
hand it to me.
And those you could scan and then send us.
I'd say it's
I'm trying
fairly
to
even.
avoid the scanning, but that goes back to
Yeah.
I think we need to reopen the discussion on group emails so that if somebody's sending something to the select board, it goes to the select board. We get it in our inbox. And then we can read it and we can decide if it's important enough to read or if we have an opinion on it. We're the elected officials, we're representing our people. The people of Pownal. So if we're on copy as those things come in, we can read it and say, I think that's important enough that I'm going to talk about it in the next, and that's our decision.
Right.
And so that takes a lot of it off the table and a lot of it.
Yeah. But I still want anybody sending in anything, even an email, which I do see in the email replies, thank you so-and-so for, for your concern or whatever. I just want to make sure that anybody that takes time to send something into us, we acknowledge it one way or another and let them know that.
Well, if we
received
acknowledge
it.
email,
Well,
if one of us acknowledges an email and sends it out, and we CC everybody else, then that's open meeting law.
right.
So
I see Michael doing it.
I always say
on-
thank you
on the
No, I-
town's
if
behalf.
we
So if
get
an email comes in, it gets
He's
forwarded
saying,
out
"Thank
to
you,
us.
we've
and we-
received it."
And I've seen
They've
thank
passed
you,
it
we'll
along.
forward this onto the board.
Right.
Right. That tells me that he's replied to them to say thank you or in receipt of it.
Yeah, and-
And that's what I mean, is whether it comes in an email, we should thank them and let them know we're in receipt of it. If it's
kind of
he
a
walks in
standard
and
response
hands it-
email.
I just think the public ought to have the choice of saying, I want to send this to the entire select board without having to type all of our emails.
Right.
Or I want to send it to the TA, or I just want to send it to Brian because I don't trust Bob or whatever.
That Bob.
Well,
That darn Bob.
Pretty sad you don't trust yourself, Bob.
It was just an example.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I just want to comment. I did read some of the mail, quite a bit of it, and some of the stuff on the ATVs. Also, I received phone calls, and I will be putting camera up in another area this weekend, because the same area that I got phone calls from, there's at least 2 letters in there for. So
And a verbal.
yes. So I'm just
Two verbals on that.
just putting that out there, that there will be cameras out there. And those of you that are out there riding your ATVs irresponsibly, we will find out who you are,
Be
and
respectful.
it's, you're the ones that are creating this.
And I would also like to add, if the people that like to ride ATVs, if you want any hope of getting a group involved to make it legal to be able to go from one section of town to another on the roads, you need to behave yourselves, because you are the ones who are going to ruin it for everybody.
Just help police.
Yeah, police yourselves.
Yes. I mean, there's a lot of people, the majority of the people out there I've seen so far are riding sensibly, and they're wearing their safety.
But it only takes a few bad apples to ruin it for everybody.
Right. So,
I think we,
And they're
and to
the
speak
same
on the other
repeat
side of
offenders.
that, speak on the other side of that, we need to differentiate between, what is an after-hours party, what is littering, and what is ATV use. Littering is a different act, and you can do that if you're hiking.
Regardless.
Right.
Or a bonfire in the woods, just because you got there on an ATV doesn't make it an ATV. Some of the pictures that we saw, you did see ATVs out there around a bonfire, but you also saw a Toyota 4Runner.
right.
So
Quite a few of those.
we need to differentiate the action and ATV use. I think.
Right.
Well, when it gets to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, right. And I would also like to acknowledge all the residents in North Pownal in regards to the dirt biking event. Thank you for all your letters and your phone calls of concern, and the board is looking into addressing that. So that's all I have on that. right, do we have any other mail, Michael?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, so moving on to public comment. Do we have any public comment?
Can I ask one question? So I don't have to be here forever and I can go back to work?
Only if you announce who you are.
Julie Weber.
Hi, Julie. Hi, Julie.
Hi, Julie. Nice to meet you.
You guys have personnel policy discussion insurance eligibility under new business number 8.
Mm-hmm.
Can I be moved up somewhere before?
I think technically
much.
because we've already started and we already made the adjustments, I don't know if we can legally do that now.
But can I
No,
at
we
least
can.
move up?
Can we?
We can.
Or at least go under old business because technically it's
It is old
old.
Yeah, that is
Right.
old business.
Mhm.
So
Right.
technically,
We can.
All right.
We-
I just want,
We can do it before the TA report if we'd
For
like.
Community Publics, I'm Crystal Gardner.
Oh,
Just curious for ATV, with the list that was provided, I know I live on Mount Anthony Road and we have no trails. So will we be considering what the people who live on these roads want when we say, hey, we're gonna open this road just so you can drive all the way across town?
No,
Because there are people who aren't gonna want that because we don't have trails.
To my understanding,
we're the
John
right
Bushy and
group.
his group they're driving that. It's a
Okay.
private group, and they're trying to secure lands that they can ride on.
Right.
And then they're going to be drafting proposals on what sections of road they would like to try to open, and there will be public hearings on it, and they're going to be pushing that.
Okay, because like your ATV race that was going on, we have people who came all the way from Sandy Acres, Hidden Valley. They came right down North Pownal Road
No, that is a
on
completely separate
on
issue.
their side by sides. And I'm
Yeah.
like going, hello, we have farm equipment. We can't stop on a dime. We're
Yeah, and that
and I'm a rider. I mean, but we gotta try to keep everyone
that
safe.
would be that was a one-time, well, maybe not a one-time event, but that's a like once-a-year event. And regardless, they should not have been riding on the road. That's in violation of the law. They
Right,
should not
that
have been
road
doing
wasn't
that.
open right now.
That's a completely separate issue.
Okay.
So,
I would recommend reaching out to John and asking him when his group, unless, do you know this?
It's John.
Well,
I don't.
Okay.
He's getting all the
Well, I didn't
information
know if you were
together.
part of the group.
He's coming back to the people.
Oh yeah,
He
we
is.
we advised
Totally.
him to get all his
He's-
information
yeah.
and ducks in a row before he comes back.
Okay.
So as far as I
There's
know,
a
that's
lot
what
of
he's
thought
doing.
going behind
Right.
it.
He's gonna announce
I would
other
reach out to him
meetings.
and see if you can go to the next meeting and then
Yeah.
they can answer your questions and kind of, and take your
And
feedback.
if you're willing to help, he's probably
Yeah.
always eager to get more help and
Just
more
'cause,
people
like,
involved.
I know, like Cedar Hill, for example, we always have, it's not even side-by-sides and four-wheelers, it's people being jerks in their trucks blowing donuts in our hayfields. We can't keep them out of them. And every time we report them and turn them in, sorry, there's nothing we can do. So you've got lost time, lost crop. Just, it's not gonna be fun.
right.
I was gonna say if you can get plate numbers,
Oh, I
and
had
I mean
plate
that's.
numbers and I was almost ran over and they did
I was gonna say
absolutely
that's
nothing.
destruction of private property. Seems like they
Correct.
could do something
The-
about
They
it.
did absolutely nothing.
The sheriff's
And then when
department
I-
couldn't, or VSP?
The sheriff's department. I mean, literally, I was taking pictures of the damage, and the gentleman came back through and pretty much almost ran me over. And I had his license plate, and I had his picture literally this close to me as he's almost running me over.
And why
they did
couldn't
nothing.
the sheriffs do
They
anything?
couldn't catch up with him and find him.
Well, it's a Crockett.
Well, you have his
Pretty
license
much
plate number.
seems so
you know.
that night when they didn't follow through with it that day, he was arrested for abusing his girlfriend.
Yeah.
So it's just frustrating. That's all I'm,
Yeah.
I mean, we.
No, that is
I mean,
completely
we
understandable.
maintain 418 acres, give or take.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
trying to keep people out of the fields is one of the biggest issues we have.
Okay.
Why I think part of Man Hill and Man Hill South and North do not connect anymore. Because when people were driving them, we couldn't keep them out of our backfields.
Okay.
So I'm for it, but I'm just throwing it out there.
And we appreciate your concerns and bringing that to us, and we'll definitely reach out to the sheriff's department and ask them. We'll try to address it. So, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
So
So Julie was
8D.
asking to have hers moved up.
correct.
Okay.
8D.
8D. I'll hear a motion to move 8D up on the agenda.
Well, I don't think we have to make a motion. I think
We
we can
don't?
just do it. No.
Okay.
Right, Linda?
It's fine.
Okay.
So we'll move that right up after public comment then?
You're there right now.
Yep, we're there.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I didn't know if there was any other comments.
Go to the public.
That's a good point.
So Julie, I just wanna, let you know that we just this evening got financial information regarding insurance that we've been asking for. And we all haven't seen it yet. And so I know I can't make a decision tonight. So I'm hoping maybe we can table it to talk about the information and then address it at the next meeting. Would that be okay?
When is your next meeting?
It's in 2 weeks.
Well, just my question is, it was a budgeted line item last year, and we took it
Yeah,
out.
it's in
And
the
we-
budget.
And we,
Not
no,
for the new
it's not in the
Oh, no,
budget,
not
but
for
it
the
was
No.
originally in the budget, and then we took it out.
Right.
Then why isn't that just the same amount? I guess that's what would be my
It's
question.
part of,
Didn't we already do that?
it's part of that budget variance that, was just presented to us by the treasurer.
I saw the line item
Yeah.
in there, but then
It's
it
being-
wasn't budgeted last year. But we did have a budget amount, but the board chose not to put it in. Last year's board
I'll say the
chose
rendered
not to put
budget
it in.
versus actuals, and there a line item for set with $7,000 in it.
Right, and it's now being used to offset some other stuff.
Which is
Right.
correct.
Town voted
Right.
for her to have insurance.
I'm not
Disagree.
disagreeing, but the way the policy's written, which we have to follow, says one thing, and we can't not follow the policy. So we have to change the policy.
And I thought that's what the agenda item was.
Yeah, that's what I thought we were
I
doing.
thought
was
the
to-
agenda item was to go and discuss the policy, change it, to make it happen.
Right.
Well, we can't change it tonight.
Because she
I
just
mean,
said
we can-
not your packet.
Right.
My-
We can
my-
agree to change
I
it, we
have-
can agree to change all that language that the VLCT recommended, but we physically can't change it and sign off on it right this moment.
No, but
No,
we can
but we
make a
can-
motion
To accept it,
to accept it, and then we can,
But what are we accepting? I haven't seen a rewritten policy.
well.
Who
we would-
rewrote it?
well,
What's the
Nobody,
language?
nobody
I
rewrote it, we were gonna
understand
discuss
You
it.
were gonna discuss it because I had asked the chairman or the vice chair to speak to the lawyer.
Yes.
Yes, and
Yes,
and I reached out to
and we just
VLCT.
got that information
and they
too,
s-
yes.
And
Yep.
they got back to me and said it was
I
fine.
have to say though,
Yeah.
in the meantime, I am kind of disappointed because I hadn't heard anything from you guys at all. I mean, not a phone call to say that we're still working on it. So I'm assuming that I have been forgotten all of May and the first couple of weeks of June, because I hadn't heard from one of you guys.
Speaking for myself, you have not been forgotten, Julie, and I apologize for any delay.
I had thought Brian had sent something letting you know we were waiting for some
I
figures.
agree.
I apologize for that.
Okay. So I won't be,
That's the total.
You can beat me up after the meeting, it's fine.
no, I'm good, I'm maintaining, I'm trying to be good.
did I
got
understand that
it.
we do have,
Right?
we did
No,
reach out to
no.
the lawyer, and we did hear back from him on.
I reached out to VLCT because I figured if they were okay with it,
Yeah, we can, we have
that
to
I
change
didn't
the
want to
language.
Right.
contact the lawyer and spend more money that we didn't have
That
to.
makes sense.
Right,
And VLCT said it was fine.
yep.
I forwarded the email to everybody. They said it was fine as long as we don't make a habit of it.
Yep.
And that we're not using it to purposely discriminate against people.
Right.
No.
And I feel that by changing it, we're actually not discriminating, we're actually
We're doing the
eliminating
reverse.
discrimination.
Right. Discrimination.
Right.
Yep,
Right.
I think I agree. So,
Yes.
So I mean,
So what's the next step with this to move this along?
the next step is
policy
crafting
needs
a
to be
change to the
updated.
policy and then,
Which is changing the date and,
which is changing the date,
Well,
but we
there's
actually,
many sections in the
Yeah.
policy that we
We
have
have
to
to do
change
that
for
in
other
executive
things, we have to
session.
change the whole policy.
I believe.
And then,
Right. We gotta do that in
well,
executive session.
why did we have
Yeah.
to change other things?
I just thought it was just that
we'll be
one.
talking about that in executive session.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's- We have to discuss, that's what I'm saying. Don't,
yeah, we're gonna be discussing other things on the policy and executive.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you haven't been forgotten about, Julie, and we're gonna get this through as quick as possible.
June 27th.
June 27th. And if we can get it done sooner, we'll let you know, okay?
No, the thing is you need to know when, like, normal health insurance, when she can add and when she can't, just to make it.
Like, I think by changing the policy, it creates a special event, so it should create an open
Yep.
enrollment for her at any point.
Okay,
Okay?
as long as I'm not forgotten.
You are not
Totally not
forgotten.
forgotten, Julie.
Because I don't wanna have to be not so nice.
We don't want you to have to be not so nice.
Thanks, Jules.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Okay. All right, moving on to town administrator's report.
Okay, Michael, I gave you 20 minutes. Can you get through it in 20 minutes?
We blew our time, but we're gonna hold you to yours.
No problem.
Oh, no, we haven't blown any time. We actually gained time in the beginning, so we've been doing good.
The first topic is, in close to a year, there's now 2 volumes of policies.
Thank you.
So what you do with those policies is, what I'm doing now is I'm setting up, aligning them with frequency and risk. So if you have something that's high frequency, things that occur a lot, and it's a high risk, something that could put the town in jeopardy, I want to review those policies more often than not and bounce them against current law. That being said, 2 that are high frequency and high risk are conflict of interest and ethical conduct. We've talked of that ad nauseum, in that policy is replete with ethics, but I beg your pardon, with conflict of interest, but it doesn't speak to ethics. So Article 13 is rather wordy, and it's what I put together to address the ethics portion. And for your consideration, that's been sent to you, and you obviously don't have to do anything here now, unless you choose to.
I'd like to review them. But the other thing is, shouldn't an ethics policy be a standalone policy? Conflict, I mean, everywhere I've ever worked, you've got your conflict of interest, and then you've got your standards of ethical behavior, and they're completely separate policies.
Be happy to do that if you like.
I'm just wondering
just
what
the,
everybody else thinks.
The VLCT actually calls this the conflict of interest and ethical conduct. And while I like the things that are under the ethics, I don't think those are really actionable. So I'm not sure that they belong in a policy. There are more reasons why you should have a policy. There are things like uphold the law. I
don't disagree with that.
Policy is more like what you see in the rest of it. Now, this does, from the VLCT, address ethical conduct a little bit, but it is mostly a conflict of interest, and the VLCT calls it a conflict of interest and ethical conduct policy.
To your point, I don't disagree with you. And the problem I've had is researching and looking at different statements of ethics. It's subjective. What somebody might think is ethical behavior, someone might not think it's ethical behavior. So it's just a high-level thought that, if you treat someone in a certain way as a citizen, and that citizen does not think it's ethical, what's the litmus test? What's the line? It's not a black and white thing.
I have a question. Have you reached out to surrounding communities to try to establish best practice?
Yeah. They're all in the same quandary.
Okay, so they pretty much have all just copy and pasted VLCT?
Yeah, pretty much. I've talked to, personally talked to the Shasberry's town administrator. He agrees with the subjectivity of it. He basically uses the same form. But again, it's up to you if you want to separate it out. It's up to you how you want it worded, and what you think is ethical and what is not ethical.
Bob has something.
Well, it's just that if you read through the ethics, it's good stuff, but it's also something. It belongs in like a. This is why we decided to do a policy. It's not really policy.
It's like a synopsis.
It's a. I mean, if I could, the select board will investigate all reported instances.
It's more
well,
of a
it's like-
plan. It's more
yeah.
of a plan, an action plan.
Right, and the problem with this is it also does have some subjectivity, and so you could apply it
Totally
more strictly to people you don't like and less strictly to people that you do like,
Which
which is what we want to avoid. So when I brought this up originally, it was because we had taken the VLCT's model policy and we had adjusted it in a way that I thought was less ethical. Or less ethical. So, to me, I'm comfortable if we adopt, at least from my opinion, what the VLCT puts out as model policy verbatim.
And that's
That's-
what
And
we
that's
have
what that
now.
is.
And that's everything except for Article 13.
Right.
Article 13
Correct.
is an addition.
Correct.
That would mean it would, upon review, it would remain the same per board approval.
And should we change it and not call, and just take out the word ethical conduct and just call it a conflict of interest?
Again, your call, whatever you'd like to do.
Well, are you proposing then crafting a separate ethics policy?
Yeah, that's what I'm proposing.
Well, and then we would be doing that from scratch, right?
Not
Because,
necessarily. We can
you
use
can
another
find
business model.
you can find another business model, but you won't find a VLCT. You won't find a VLCT model policy for that. Their model policy that they call conflicts of interest and ethics is this one, with
Yeah, which
minus
is here,
Article
which is
13.
Right.
lacking on the ethics.
You have to be mindful that while you put something that's, from a business standpoint, we're doing something that we need to check with the people that insure us.
Well, and that's actually a really good point, Michael. If you reach out to our liability insurance carrier, they might have policy that in
What they
language
consider best
in
practice?
language that they want put into these
Well, I
into
have.
this policy.
I mean,
okay.
I've
Is that
spoke-
where you got?
Oh,
Article
I got,
13?
this is where I got this from.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
And,
okay.
and
okay.
I've
Thank you.
spoken
You
to them
didn't
on,
disclose that.
I've spoken to them on several occasions.
Okay.
So,
That would have been nice to know up front.
yeah, so, are we gonna take the ethical conduct off of this? How would you like me to proceed?
Well, you're saying Article 13 ethics is what the liability insurance.
No.
No, that's outside of, I've cobbled that together from a variety of different definitions of ethics.
Okay.
So that would be something that,
Right. So, what portion of what you presented to us came from the liability insurance carrier?
everything up to, but not including Article 13.
That wasn't
Which is
verbatim
also-
from VLCT?
It is verbatim from VLCT, but
Right.
if I'm understanding you, that's also what
What the
Insurance.
liability
Yes,
insurance
So
is.
yeah, that's where it comes from. Yeah.
Okay.
So
So we're talking about the same policy.
right,
So
right.
again-
Which
From the
this is
VLCT
essentially what we already have.
You already have
Okay.
it.
Well, we do have to adopt it, because what we adopted last year was the VLCT policy with some things taken out. I suggest
okay.
we put them back in, like it's written here,
Oh.
and take it verbatim. And I would also suggest that we take out the Article 13. It's
okay.
good stuff, but it's things like set the tone at the top, build trust and credibility. But those are, we should be
That's
doing
very
that
subjective.
in every aspect of
Keeps
what
it
we do.
open.
And it's not really a policy statement.
So you're satisfied with this as written?
Yes, I would.
Yes.
For
Up to,
me,
but
I would
not
say the
including Article
VLCT
13.
verbatim
That's it.
conflict of interest and ethics policy is what I would like to adopt.
That's it?
Right
I'm-
from the VLCT?
Yeah, under the authority of 24
Yep.
VSA.
Okay.
I'm acceptable to that.
Oh, yeah, me too.
And while we're doing these policies, we need to make sure that we're putting headers and whatnot on the policy, and we're not.
Header,
Well, before we go
You know,
diving down the
identifying
process of
owner
it.
and review
That's what
dates and all
they
that, so that we know when.
I'm
That's what
in the
they
process of doing that as we
Yep,
speak.
yep, great.
I was gonna say, before we dive down that road,
Well, that's true.
we should vote on whether or not we're gonna
Put it
accept
out
this.
in
Right.
Their model policy.
Well, I think we need to
References.
wait until next week to accept it, because we have to sign off on it. And so I think we should be accepting it at the time that we're signing off on it.
Alright, so then we should
I think
just
we should
ask
just give
Michael to
Michael to-
redraft it,
Yep.
take out Article 13.
And stick to the VLCT
VLCT
Yes.
model policy.
Model
Right.
policy.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Alright, you have your marching orders, sir.
Yes, sir. And then the second one was public record inspection, copying of transmissions. What was added was documentation that is attached to the back. This has been a high frequency, high risk thing for us. We get an awful lot of request for public information,
Mm-hmm.
and it's for your approval. There's actually a section where, I can find it, access charges that were taken from not from, I can't remember if I took it from Vermont League of Cities and Towns. There was a bunch of different ones that I looked at, and I thought some were onerous in terms of the amounts. And I tried to keep it as simple as I could and to keep the amounts reasonable. So if you were to ask if I did it exactly according to Vermont League of Cities and Towns, that's not what I did.
I don't know. I like the Vermont League of City and Towns model policy. Well, their guidance. Has everybody reviewed?
Yeah,
So
so.
the document is from Vermont League of Cities and Towns. What is added
It's the last page, right?
The last pages, the last 3 or 4 pages are documents that per Vermont Public Records Act, it actually, we can track who's asking for what, when whatever they asked for was given to them, and so forth and so on.
Well, yeah, we should be. I mean, my assumption was we should be doing that anyway.
We had, but it's not to my satisfaction.
Was it more like just writing it down in a notebook type deal?
Yeah, something like that. So what I did was look at it and said, well, let me look at some model policies and documents that make this a little bit more codified, whereby a person asks for something, it protects that person, it protects us.
Yeah.
So they get exactly what they want.
So essentially, we could be adopting a form that if you want a public record, you have to fill out the form.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, and the VLCT's model, they
Just a written
something
request.
similar.
Yeah,
I'd
so-
like to review what Michael wrote up, and I'd like to compare it to the VLCT model and just come back with any questions at our next meeting.
And the one thing I would add to that is, and I like that you said you kept the threshold low, but we also, I think I talked about it before, is we need to look at our process. So if
Yep.
somebody comes in and says, I want to see all the emails that went from so-and-so to so-and-so, there shouldn't be a single printed page, there shouldn't be a single scanned page. That's find the emails, put them in a zip file, and send them via email, and it should be pretty quick.
Right.
If
So-
they're requesting a printed copy of everything, then
Right.
that's
Which
where
I just wanna make sure.
they
This
start paying
distinguishes.
for it.
This distinguishes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so then I would suggest that we go ahead and ask Linda to put this on the agenda for next week so that we know it's not forgotten about.
Next item I've already discussed, we have the health officer and zoning administrator positions posted. We have no one that has applied for that.
Has it been advertised in the paper or anywhere else?
She can speak, Linda can speak to that better than I can. She has some sources where we post it.
It was placed in the Bennington Banner, and it was placed in the Vermont News Guide, which has quite a large circulation.
Do you at all connect with the Vermont Department of Labor jobs board?
We send
I
it to the
believe that's
Vermont
a
League of
free-
Cities and Towns. They post it.
Right. They post it on the VLCT website, but the Bennington Department of Labor, through the state of Vermont, they have a Bennington jobs link. Not just for state of Vermont jobs in Bennington, but for jobs in Bennington County. There's no fee for that. So that might be another resource. And because they're working with people who are unemployed and they're holding classes and resume writing and interviewing skills workshops and stuff, there's other opportunities for people to see these jobs who are actively looking.
I have my other concern. Well, I have a concern is, I wonder if part of the reason we're not getting any applications is because of the volume of work that's to be expected of them and the low amount of pay that's to go along with it.
That's actually a very good observation. I got some feedback from somebody about particularly about the zoning administrator, not so much on the health officer, but on the zoning administrator. And it's a double-edged sword, right? If you don't pay much, you don't get consistent enforcement. You don't get enforcement.
Kind of get what you pay for.
And it's got to be predictable. And then I'm normally one that comes down on the side of lower regulation and all that stuff, and lower spending. But at the same time, if not putting enough time in the zoning administrator causes undue delays for people who want to open businesses, for example, we're hurting our economy, we're hurting our citizens. So I think we need to have a longer discussion about the zoning administrator at some point.
I would agree with
I
that.
do too.
I'm not sure tonight's.
Linda?
There was an interested individual that called the office during the week that's interested in applying for the zoning. It's whether or not they carry through. As a
So
result.
they expressed verbal interest, but no written letter of interest yet.
Yeah, they saw
Okay.
the ad.
Okay.
So we may potentially have somebody.
Yes,
Well, I do-
there's a date when applications are due, and
Okay.
I'll have to look at that.
let that happen.
You guys want to put a discussion about this on the next agenda, or how do you want to do this?
I think it's probably a good idea to put it on the next agenda, but I do want to ask a question about it. Do we have any data on what the impact is? I'm not even sure how to go about investigating what the impact is on, or even get any empirical evidence of what delays are for, getting things approved. What is
You mean
the
just in
inconsistency
Pownal,
of
or-
enforcement? Yeah, just for
Yeah.
Pownal, because I think we budgeted, what, 3,600 a year?
I have anecdotal observations that I did. You're talking about from the time the building permit is.
Right.
Yeah, I have some anecdotal, but it's not positive.
And then but also going back historically, I've got anecdotal information that it's very subjective,
Yes.
and that the enforcement is sort of haphazard. Sometimes it's enforced, sometimes it's not, and it might be enforced a different way for this person than it is for that person. And all of those things lead to, the consistency has to be there, and that's why I was opening up the conversation of, are we really budgeting enough? Which you will rarely
I
hear
would
me
agree.
say.
I would agree we're not budgeting enough. I suggested we're not budgeting enough, but what's budgeted is what's budgeted. And we would have to increase that budget the next fiscal year.
What about if before we just arbitrarily increase, why don't we do a cost comparison and look at what other small towns our size
Right, and
are
I
using?
started to do a little bit of that.
And give us a, report back, have Michael contact all the other towns, report back and find out, is there a zoning officer that is appointed or elected? What, are they stipend, are they salaried?
I have all that at my fingertips. It's in my desk.
Okay.
And to be clear, no one was suggesting that we do this arbitrarily. I was suggesting exactly what you're saying. Find out more information, and then find out what is appropriate. And what are other towns' experiences with this budget level,
Right.
with other different budget levels? Not
Yeah.
just how much do they spend, but what is the outcome?
Yeah, what kind of results do they
and I
get?
think
If you
from it?
recall, several meetings ago, I gave you a paper on several options,
Yep.
including costs. So I can,
I think I have it in my bag.
so I can go back through and hone that a little bit.
Well, that was the sheet that just said, if you combine them both
It was,
or make
and
it
that was
hourly and all that.
under the guideline that the budget's the budget.
Right.
How do we get the maximum effect, consistency?
I mean, the other thing that we really need to take a look at is times have changed a lot. Regulations have changed a lot. And there's more and more and more that's going to be added onto these individuals' plates to meet the guidelines that are being imposed on the small towns. And so we need to really look at what is fair.
I
Well,
think we need to be
Because we
very
need to make
careful
sure that they're
about
competent, we need to make sure that they're
Extremely
documenting what they need to
careful.
document to protect ourselves.
We need to be extremely careful about what bylaws we take on,
Right.
and things like the junk ordinance and things like that. So obviously, the more we respect the liberty of our citizens, the easier it's going to be to enforce the zoning administrator. But we have to have some of these zoning laws, certainly. I've heard it said that we haven't updated these since such and such a date, and they're long overdue. Well, that's not necessarily true. Sometimes it's long overdue to roll back some of the restrictions. If that's the position, it's been so long since we've revised these, then what we're also buying off that the future direction of government is always more and more restrictive, and I'm not willing to say that.
Right.
So I think we need to be very careful when we get into approving our bylaws and looking at our bylaws about what kind of additional restrictions and costs are we adding to our citizens.
And I want to,
Because it also adds to
I want to
the
make clear,
inconsistency
make
of
it
the-
perfectly clear, and if you read the junk ordinance, I was quite liberal. I really took it easy on that, because I did not, and I stated this, I did not want to hit people between the eyes. It's something you just can't turn around and the next day, go out and start hitting people up with. There's a
that's-
lot of underlying
Yeah,
reasons.
I think we're getting a little bit off topic here.
the
So
agenda now.
Who's
let's
the rudder?
yeah, let's keep
Harry?
keep this
You're the
limited.
rudder.
Let's keep this
Back.
limited to the zoning administrator position.
57 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah.
The next item.
So,
oh,
well, hold on.
okay.
So for zoning administrator, do you guys want to put it on the next meeting's agenda? Have an executive to discuss compensation and responsibilities for this?
Yes.
Well, and also how we're going to go about the investigation, because I know we need to talk to people like realtors. What do real estate agents
Would I've done that.
recommend?
Well, I was going to say we could ask Michael to
I've
start
done that.
doing some preliminary research
I've done a lot of this.
and present to us something at
Done
the
it
next
already.
meeting and go from there.
Okay.
So why don't we do that? So find information from the surrounding communities,
Where you got it?
reach out to VLCT, find out what they pay, what the responsibilities are, what average turnaround time is for permit applications in our town.
And
Any other
Send that to
information
us.
anybody want to request off the top of your head?
Well, I think I think we need to do some investigation about who the appropriate who the appropriate respondents are, because I know you've done some of it, Michael, and maybe you've done a lot of it. But I mean, all I said was real estate agents, but
Right.
there's going to be more,
Mhm.
and we need to get all perspectives. We can't go down. Let me give you an example. We have done a lot of reaching out to municipal planners to ask how we should be planning our municipality. Municipal planners tend to fall down on the side of heavier restrictions because it justifies their positions. I mean, that's where they tend to fall down. So we need to ask. We need to get opposing viewpoints as well. We need to get more perspectives.
We
and
need to
then
get
make
a more
decision.
well-rounded picture is what you're saying.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay.
And we need to make sure that we're
I'm
reaching out to the people to get the well-rounded picture. That's
Okay.
the way
I
to
also
put it.
I also want to make sure that we have the right qualifications listed as to what the individual should have or should not have. It shouldn't be something that somebody just says, "Oh, that's a quick buck I can make, and I don't have to do that much work."
Well, I think that goes along with what the stipend is for the position. I mean,
that and
if
the
you're only
responsibility.
going to pay $3,600 a year, you can't expect somebody with a master's degree in
Right.
civil engineering to apply for the job.
Right, so I think when
Absolutely.
we get to that point, we're gonna reach out to VLCT and others on what is the, what's the job, what's a model job description for
Yeah.
this? And what do others have job descriptions, and decide what's right for Pownal.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So table that for next week, or you want to push it off for a whole month? Give Michael more time to gather information.
I got it.
He says he's got it, so.
Well,
I'll get to you
Okay.
next time.
Should
So
do it.
let's
All right,
see
so-
it
All
posted.
All right, so put it on the
Gotta
agenda
figure
for
this
next
out
I
next
just
week.
don't come in here and
Right?
throw it at you
Yeah, no, there's
without
no-
knowing what I'm
it's
talking
going-
about.
it's going
Okay,
on the
thank you.
agenda.
Yes, it's going
Thank
on
you,
It's
the
Linda.
on the
agenda.
agenda because
Yes.
we need to move forward.
gets-
July 1 is
yeah.
coming quickly.
Agreed.
Right.
Posted.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bennington County Regional Commission, I respectfully request your signature on this. This is the grants and aid, yearly grants and aid program for monies for hydrologically connected roads. If you'll see highlighted the amounts of money that we'll be getting.
Okay.
And you'll know that we have a complete list of roads that are that meet standards and that do not meet standards. We are far cry better off than most communities. We have a significant percentage of our roads, I think it's over 75%, that are in standards, within standards. Our road foreman does a fantastic job at getting these things done, and he goes out and he bird dogs these grants. So I would request your approval on that. It's yearly.
Make a motion to approve the,
Oh, I always forget that. Okay, I'll second it.
All right. We have a motion to approve the invitation to participate in municipal roads grants and aid program. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye. No, I'm not opposed. I was an aye. Sorry.
I was
slow.
gonna say, why
I
are
was-
you against our roads?
I was reading something. It came out too slow. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Let's see, just the one page we sign on this then?
Yes. And we'll take that right back from you, so we
And
pass
we
it
all
over and
sign?
get it, make sure we get it over. May I proceed while you're talking?
Yes, please.
You all approved moving forward with the revolving fund, revolving loan fund for the land transfer west.
Yep.
Start
Yep.
doing the phase 2. Guess what? Finally.
Finally got
Okay,
it.
great.
So this is for your signature. Please, there's sticky tabs.
Safety tabs,
Sticky tabs.
sticky tabs. Okay. Is that just for Brian to sign? For
No,
the chair?
it's for
Okay,
everybody. There's a bunch of people who need to sign it.
I was
After
gonna
you sign,
say
I
it's,
gotta, I gotta take it to Julie
Clerk,
after you sign.
chair, treasurer.
She looked at it. She does not need to notarize it. It's just her signature, but she'll sign it after you guys are done.
Oh, there is a page for the majority of the governing body.
Yes, there is.
Okay. And treasurer, okay. Oops, sorry, didn't mean to steal that on you.
May I
It
proceed
fell
while
off.
they're signing, sir?
I'm sorry?
May I proceed while they're signing?
Yes.
The next is I request that you make a motion and adopt the law enforcement contract with Bennington County Sheriff's Office. This year, we are getting 30 hours of service instead of 20.
20.
That was based on the last board's vote at 40 per hour. And there is no substantive change in the contract. Last year, I sat with the sheriff and we talked about possible changes and came to the conclusion that what we were doing, and the previous board agreed that what we were doing was right and proper.
I have a couple questions regarding the contract.
Yes,
Um,
the contract for which,
the Bennington County
The
Sheriff.
sheriff?
yeah,
The
okay.
sheriff contract. First, is a fuel surcharge, is that normal?
Mhm.
Okay.
We're actually getting kind of a bargain.
Nope, I just wanted to know
Yeah.
about that. The other one is, can you clarify line 18? Any
just-
equipment purchased by the office to fulfill this contract will remain the property of the office upon expiration or termination. Are we the office?
No,
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 they
that's
are.
a
They
sheriff.
They
fund.
are.
so they purchase,
So if they
purchase
purchase the stuff.
they purchase a
keep it.
baton or a
Okay.
40 caliber gun, that's their gun.
Okay, so it's not
Yeah.
like if we bought them an ATV, they
Right.
keep it.
They keep.
They
No,
have to
no,
buy it.
Yeah, they gotta buy it.
If we bought it, we keep it. Okay, thank you.
I just make this stack here.
That's
Yeah,
important,
probably
yeah.
easier.
But it's basically, if we had a particular business or within the town and they needed specialized equipment to take and handle whatever was going on in there, they would purchase it and and we would pay for it within the contract and they would.
Like
keep it
say, for
afterwards.
example, if they purchased an ATV to do off-trail
Yeah.
patrols?
Right.
But that's,
Or
if
they,
we
or they
joined back.
purchase scales to weigh trucks.
Yeah,
Yep.
they would keep all that.
Right.
My other, the other quick question that I have is, there's no set hours of operation, so will the town have 30 hours per week, but it's just random?
It's not random.
Or will there be
They-
some sort of a
they-
schedule, or will
they
they
have-
mix it up?
They mix it up. They
Right.
have patrol areas. They know where the hot spots are. They're very good at what they do.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Mr. Chairman, did we get a motion for that?
I'll make a
I'll hear a
motion.
motion to approve the contract.
I, make a motion to, or, yeah, make a motion to approve the contract.
Second?
I'll second that.
All in favor of
Well,
approving the sheriff's contract?
just
Sorry,
one last
discussion.
You said that was the same as what the previous board approved. It's what we're doing is right, and
Yes.
it's 30 hours a week.
Yes.
Instead of the
met.
20.
I've met with them on several occasions.
30 hours and $40 an hour.
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Mr. Chairman, we have interviewed a replacement for a part-time
Anybody
job,
else want to see the signed one?
transfer station employee. Mr. Percy, myself, and Tom Shuey interviewed him. His name is Mr. Howard R. O'Brien, and I respectfully request that you make a motion that Mr. Howard R. O'Brien be hired as a part-time transfer station employee.
Harry?
As we did a equal questionnaire between the four candidates, and he scored the highest point rating between all three of us, and that's how we became.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Very fair.
Nice gentleman.
Motion to approve, what's his name again?
Mr. Howard R. O'Brien.
Howard R. O'Brien
Yeah.
I
for
second
the
that.
transfer station.
We have a motion and a second to approve hiring Mr. Howard R. O'Brien to the part-time transfer station position. Any discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right.
Linda, I was an aye.
Next,
Welcome aboard, Mr. O'Brien.
to move along our transfer station east, we have to sign a cover letter for what's called a post-closure amendment request. That's an engineering study that dictates all the load calculations, placement of the solar panels, how they're placed, angle they're placed. If you want a calculus flashback, you might want to read through this. But this is so that we can proceed with the solar panel placement at landfill east, and it would be addressed to Mr. James Cirillo at the Vermont Department of Environmental Conservation, and it would require your
Now,
name.
transfer station east, that's the one by the wastewater treatment
Yes.
facility?
No, that's the transfer station. Transfer station east is at the transfer station. Pull in, you look to your right where all the.
Oh, up on the hill.
Yeah.
Correct.
The brownfield. Is that the brownfields?
No, it's not.
No, that's one of the other capital landfills.
Yeah.
The one that we're not having to clean up.
If I would, your signature on that, or, because that project is approved.
Yep. Okay.
And
Which
these
page was it?
These
where
are
you
all,
need the signature.
good, the top page.
Oh, right on the top, okay.
These are all taken a very, very
so-
long time.
Yeah.
And staff here has done a lot of research and looking up deeds and things of that nature to make this stuff work, so.
We
hats
need a
off to
motion
us.
for this then?
No,
No,
it's already approved.
we already approved that a while ago.
but hats off to our staff.
Is that the post-closure
Yes,
agreement?
yes it is.
And that goes along with the transfer station east solar?
Correct.
Okay. Done and
Stack
done.
stuff's on here. Next item, blacktop bid award. Blacktop bid award. Make sure I got my paperwork right.
It's that one, isn't it?
Yeah, Wolf Paving. And you should have a document that shows you there, no, that's not it. Wolf Paving won the bid
Beecham and
For-
Valley Paving.
This one, right?
Yeah, it's this one.
Yeah, that one, but there's another one that shows,
There's another one?
This one here?
you got it. I gotta find mine. And it gives you a quick description of how much money we have, how much
Right
money
underneath it.
is
Yep.
Good job, Harry.
for grants. Ah, there it is.
I was peeking at it earlier.
And I respectfully request that you approve Wilk Paving. It came in at a total of $212,322.35. Bids were opened here in public with our personnel present.
They all,
And this is for our capital finance plan of town roads. And on the front page, you'll see the roads that he's particularly doing, what they're doing, how they're doing it.
were they the only bidders that submitted?
No, there's three bidders. Bids were Peckham Road and Valley Paving.
Go to page 2, Harry.
No, I didn't. I
Oh.
saw the three. I didn't know if there was any more than the three.
No.
That's all. I was
Oh,
gonna say.
cool.
Didn't I write 3 bidders?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you did.
Well, I didn't know you should just put the three, those three bids.
And once again, our road foreman's top shelf. He's got this down to a science.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we award the
Wilk Paving.
blacktop bid to Wilk Paving.
And second that.
All right, we have a motion to award the paving bid to Wilt Paving as stated. Any
Under-
discussion?
Sorry.
Sorry. Well, there's discussion, so did you have something you wanted to add, Michael?
Well, this particular bid is from Introne Paving, and this is related to a deal we had with TAM. Church Street gets a significant amount of dust and debris because the trucks pulling out of TAM are bringing dirt and debris and depositing on the road, so there's a dust problem. We worked with them and managed some of the traffic problems by putting up a mirror and putting up signage. This is a deal with TAM that calls for $12,985.50 of paving for a section of road that, well, instead of being dirt road, mud, it'll be paved.
Yes.
Half is being paid by TAM, half is being paid for us. Caveat, TAM was bought out. So we are looking find out whether Casella's gonna honor that. So, I'd like to approve it. If they do adopt it, then we can go ahead and proceed with paving. If they don't adopt it, then, well, they're not gonna do it, and neither are we. I don't know that you.
The paving is on that road that.
Yeah, if you come down Church Street.
Yeah. So it goes Church Street, and then I did talk to a resident down there, and then I think I sent you an email on it.
You did. Yeah. That's what I went down.
But there's a couple of things that we could do to make that less hazardous. I think we need to look into. One of them is a mirror.
We did.
That's good. And then the other one is on that very corner. I don't know how the property owner feels about it, but there's some brush there that you could actually, if it wasn't there, you could actually see people coming down the street. So it's a
I'll check on the brush.
Come down from the
You're coming from You're coming from the Main Street side, or coming from the?
Whether you're coming down from the Main Street side or coming in from Church Street past the church, you got a blind corner there.
Yes, actually, I heard the same thing.
Yeah, so you got a blind corner there, but it would be a little less blind if you could take out some of the brush on the corner. Of course, that's up to
I'd have to find out whether there's an easement or whether that's that person's property.
As far as the paving, though, I would be more comfortable waiting to find out if Casella's is gonna.
If they're gonna honor that.
If they're gonna honor it, because I don't want to approve something and then say, well, it's approved, we're gonna move forward with $12,000.
Oh, no, we're not gonna move forward with 12,000, we're gonna move forward with 6,492.70.
Okay.
That's the deal. If it doesn't come to that, we're not,
Okay.
you know.
So why don't we wait and find out if Casella's gonna honor it, and then.
It's fine.
Well, it sounds like Trevor's still gonna be in charge, running it locally,
Trevor,
so you could probably still reach out to them.
We already have.
Okay.
Already have.
Okay, great.
And the last thing was the agreement. I guess we have to. Was the agreement that they would come down, that any trucks going in there wouldn't go up Church Street? They would come down past the firehouse.
Correct. And I've spoken to him. There have been reports that a couple of trucks had not done that, and right over there. So,
yeah, they have been good partners.
Yeah, they have very good partners.
So Michael, so I'm clear here in the middle of this motion. This has nothing to do with awarding the black.
Yeah, that's separate.
It has nothing to do with it. Separate.
So yeah, so we still have an active motion with a second, and we were in discussion. So, all in favor of approving the Wilk paving?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right. So that's closed.
And your preference on this for the?
I would table it until we hear from Casella.
Yeah, till we hear definitely that they want to do it.
We're hoping Casella will keep that operation going down
Yeah.
there.
When's that sale final?
I have no idea.
It was effective June 1st.
Oh, it's already effective.
Yeah.
It's final.
Yeah. I got my notification in the mail that my service has now been transferred over.
Mine went
I'll
up.
have to check right now.
Yeah, a lot of people did.
Does that mean we get new garbage trucks?
No, they said nothing's going to change right away, and the billing's still going to happen through TAM for now.
Okay.
As long as they don't take away the co-mingling.
May I proceed, sir?
I'm sorry?
May I proceed?
Yes, go.
I've given you revised personnel employee performance reviews. These are from Vermont. I'm sorry.
You're way out of order. You're gonna mess me up in the minutes.
Oh, okay. I already. September. I'm sorry. I already crossed it off. The September 17th housing fair.
Yep.
Looking for a venue. The Shires. There's another couple of neighborhood groups. I beg your pardon. I don't remember them. That are willing to come into town, hold a forum for people to give them opportunity to find ways to get into affordable economic homes, energy efficient homes. And we're going to advertise it. We're seeking a venue. I got letters out. And just like we did an economic forum, we're doing a housing forum.
Yep.
The idea is to bring these things to our citizens, to give them an opportunity to make choices.
Now, who have you reached out to? You said you've got letters out there?
I've got one letter. I'm waiting to hear back from that, and then I've got another letter written that I'll send out if that person that. You know,
So you don't want to.
I don't want to share it right now because I don't want to put them on the spot.
Okay.
But that's. I'm just telling you what we're going to do. If you have any questions or ideas, I'm just trying to get things going for our citizens.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Next is the review and revised personnel evaluations. These were recommended by Vermont Leagues of Cities and Towns. You'll notice they look a lot like the one that you devised for me, but I changed a lot of the line items. And we'd be coming up on personnel evaluations in July, and I thought if you approve these, that would be cool.
I thought we did that in March. Didn't we just?
We did it
we just did 'em.
We did it in March.
We did it just before, so that we
Yeah,
could
just
prepare the
before
That's
budget.
right. I stand corrected.
It's
That
like,
would be
no, I
March.
think we just did
You're
that.
right. You're absolutely right.
So that's, we don't need this one, right? That's already approved?
This is not approved.
Oh,
Well, we
need
had
to-
already, there's already one approved though.
I'd like to make a motion to table this until the 27th. Because items that we'll be talking about under personnel and executive session may, update this document a little bit.
Okay.
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 Do I have a second?
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I second that.
All right.
Well, we don't need a motion to table, right? Or do we? Well, all right.
All right, we have a motion and a second to table this for employee performance review paperwork until the next scheduled meeting. All in favor, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay.
Next, Mr. Chairman, we had a safety committee meeting at the transfer station, and we went over 2 losses during the last quarter period. But they both had loss of personnel time due to the injuries and hospital bills, one with a surgery. The one incident we reviewed, and Vermont OSHA contacted me after we had reviewed the incident, and we did everything that they wanted to. And just this morning, I sent them the picture of the area that we fixed to prevent the injury from happening again. So we did everything that they wanted. Vermont OSHA's fully satisfied. They're going to be sending us a confirmation letter of that, and that was taken care of. Essentially, it was a culvert, and individual was standing on the culvert trying to clean the culvert and slipped off it and injured themselves. The fix was to cover that with stone, and if you see pictures, if I show you pictures of it, here's the culvert across the top is completely covered with stone, so someone would have footing to be able to do that. The other one was actually an assault, so keep that door. And that one was resolved by discussion of the emergency action plan and our responsibilities under that emergency action plan. So those 2 are resolved, and that's the result of that. We also identified that we've received all the materials from our safety grant. And starting July 1st, the highway workers will be in new clothing that is reflective. The monies that was allocated, Joel decided to rent those clothing. That means every week they're completely cleaned and refurbished so that they're always.
Who are we, who's the contract with?
Don't know. I don't know that off the top of my head, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Is that just for uniforms or does that include outerwear for like cold weather?
Just uniforms.
Okay.
And that was bid out?
I don't know that either, honestly. He made that decision.
Joel did.
Yeah, Joel made that decision.
Can you just get that information and just, I really want to start looking at value-based purchasing and making sure that we're looking at multiple bids on things, especially contracts like uniforms. There's a handful of uniform companies around. I know manufacturing uses a bunch of different ones, and I know the pricing is all the different, is different. I want to make sure that we are.
I know what
We're
the one
smartly
they
choosing.
do our janitorial supplies as well, so we get a steep discount.
Yeah, first.
Because of that by combining services.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
And I request permission to go to Peru, Vermont, July 23rd for a risk management class.
Is there a fee for it?
Pardon?
Is there a fee for the class?
Yes. It's, and of course, I didn't write it on here. I believe it's $75.
Can you provide the?
Yeah, I'll get it to
Thank
you.
you. Table this until the 27th and then give us that
Oh,
information.
When do you need to?
23rd July. I'll get the cost
Okay.
for you.
Or
And how does it compare to budget? I mean, we budget for
We budget for
training or
training.
whatever.
Mhm.
Right.
Right, so where are we on that budget?
Yeah, if you can provide that information, that would be great, Michael.
Okay. And
Okay,
I'm
July
done.
23rd would be the
I'm
next
fine,
year's
I'm
budget.
perfectly fine with that.
I'm done with it. I'm done. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, so on to discussion and selection, hopefully, of town office proposals. So I would like to start with,
For 10 minutes.
I have 10 minutes. Well, that's not gonna be enough. So I've had time to review all the proposals, and I've made a decision in my mind on who I would like to pick. I would like to poll the board on how everybody else feels on, have you had time to review? Do you have more questions? Is the rest of the board ready to decide?
I'm baffled because we did vote, we Australian voted for
We-
the top three,
we
and we
did.
talked about bringing the top three back and having
Okay,
them
so I should
presenting.
step that back. then.
Yeah.
So, all right, let me restart that.
Did I miss a
So-
meeting somewhere?
Yeah,
No, I'm sorry. I
was gonna say, I thought
jumped
we were
ahead
getting
in my
another
thought
proposal.
process.
My eyes.
Okay.
Sorry. So, anyway, I would like to try to, my personal opinion, I would like to try to speed the process along. Okay, so rather than trying to do the whole, bring three of them down to a whole presentation before the voters of three of them, I would like to recommend that we decide, we pick one and then move forward from there. To try to, if we have any chance of trying to get something onto the November ballot, is my thought process. I want to have a discussion on that.
And just to add to it, the town did do that trip to Sunderland.
True.
If I understood it correctly, that that is 3,000 square feet. And I only have some anecdotal evidence here. I'm not. That seems to be enough, but we do. But it is, and it's a nice looking town hall.
Theirs is also a one-story
Right.
construction.
Right, it's one story, but it's all, but to be clear, I thought from the last meeting, one is we did take that sort of poll, but then after that poll, we talked about other steps. And one of the steps was to go down and look at the, to go down and look at the schoolhouse. Another step we talked about was giving the others an opportunity to come in at 2,400 square feet, if that's what we're considering that from one of the proposals, but everyone else adhered to the 3,600 square feet. So I think we're still comparing apples and oranges.
Yeah, we didn't
I
get
do.
straight numbers.
That's true. All right.
The other thing was, we did go and look at the Sunderland Town Hall, and it's beautiful, but the space is kind of
It's
wonky.
cut up a little weird. I think there's a lot of wasted space.
There's a lot
up
of
there.
wasted
Compared to
space,
how-
and
for our
so it's
purpose.
3,000 square feet. I don't necessarily know if we need something that big.
I disagree.
As do I.
When I looked at it, I would make some modifications to the 3,000 square feet, but I understand why we first started with 3,600. There wasn't enough room I could see for the town administrator's office or one for me. And you have to understand that the town clerk there is also the treasurer, so it's just one office that she's using in the corner. The safe I found to be adequate with the radiant
Agree with you
heat
on
and the
that, yep.
floor. We actually have more books than they do. And the space that they have right now, our books could probably just about fill it.
The whole space?
Yep,
Wow.
just about.
So what that says to me is that the
Even
high
though
level
there's-
costs
Hold on,
that we
Bob's
have.
talking. Hold on.
What that says to me is that the high level costs that we have, we need to adjust them because
Yeah.
one of them is substantially smaller than that, and the others are the 3,600, 34 to 36, I think is what we put in the RFP. So we're not comparing apples to apples here.
Right.
So there's no way we can go forward with one of these.
So I have a question for Linda with the books. Can you have, you know how they had the shelves against the wall on
There's a
both
picture
ends?
right there.
Right. Can you have shelves in the middle too? Like, could you put shelving in that space in the middle to make more room for the books?
Yeah.
That's specific to the town clerk's office, so that's a question that I really shouldn't be answering.
Michael?
Mike,
If I may. process works like this. You send out a request for proposal. You get technical data. We as staff go through and grade that technical data and identify who best would deliverables, costs, background, all the things, and then you interview them. Then you pick an architect, okay, someone that you think is comfortable, you're comfortable with in designing and building a building. What you're doing is you're saying, well, let's see if this guy could do this, and let's see if this guy can do this compared to that guy. You pick an architect, you pick an engineering firm, you decide based on the fact that you interviewed them, you had a qualitative analysis of the staff, and then you go to that individual with whom you're comfortable with and who you want, and you have responsibly and can lay out for the public the steps you took in deciding on that individual. Then you can lay it out for them. You've been very, very responsible. You've been more than responsible. You've interviewed them. We've done an analysis. We've done an RFP process. The next step would be pick one that you are most comfortable, that think you will get the best product. And then you say to that architect, well, what will 2,400 square feet look like? What will 3,000 square feet look like? What will two-story look like? Then you can go through those iterations. But right now you're all over the map, and you're trying to get a feel for how each one of these guys can do it. You got to pick one. I mean, well, you don't got to do anything.
We got a high level. Respectfully, I disagree. We came back with. We had 5 proposals. 4 of them are comparable. 1 is not.
Right.
And it's because they're of different sizes. The RFP itself, and I agree with your overall process. If what we had interviewed was apples to apples, and they adhered to the process and adhered to the requirements. Now, when it was an RFQ, we were talking about disqualifying somebody because he didn't adhere to the parameters.
Right.
And now we're saying the parameters don't matter. What matters is our confidence in the architect.
Okay. All right.
I'm seeing
Go
two
ahead.
different explanations here. And you got to have. I agree. Had everyone come in at 3,600 or between 3,400 and 3,600, I would agree with everything you said.
Yes.
But now we have one that is the orange, and the other 4 are apples, or vice versa.
Okay.
Depending on whether you like
I'm
oranges
good.
or apples.
You guys, go ahead.
Well, I'm just going to be devil's advocate because I recall the other 4 saying to
They could
work
lower
with
the
the
cost
to work with the price, you would have to cut space.
Right.
They proposed their proposal and all said that they could pretty much meet the $700,000 threshold, but they were looking at modified materials, modular, to get the cost down, and then
And so was
in
this
many
one.
cases talked
Right.
about, and you're going to have to consider, do you need 3,600 square feet? Because if you're set on this price, you have to start looking at decreasing space.
They said they could make adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
And what I heard from most, not all, but most, was that they could come in very close to that size at very close to cost. So, and I can name them. I can name the ones that said that they could do that, and the ones that said you'd have to be a little flexible. The one that said you'd have to be a little flexible, I think, is also the one that came in at 2,400 square feet.
Right.
That was the one that talked more about the give and take, and we had confidence that they would do it. But frankly, I was impressed with all 5 firms. I didn't think there was a dud in there. But still, I mean, we didn't come in at a starting point. Somebody came in with a cost that was considerably 2/3 the size that we asked for. That's a substantially different than I can work with you.
Right.
Those are 2 very different statements. And you're saying that because one came in at that 2/3 the size, and others said, well, there could be some give and take, or I think we can meet it, which most of them said, I think we can meet it. One of them said, we'd work with us on what you want for options. I think we're. Well, the other thing I wanted to ask about also, so I'm disagreeing with what you said. They did say they'd work with us, but there's a big difference between 2/3 the size,
Right, and
and
you're-
we'll work with you to get there.
And
And
you're
the other
allowed to
thing we did
disagree.
talk about was actually paring it down. That's what we took the Australian vote on.
Right.
That was more about paring it down and letting them come in and present to the public.
Right.
Now maybe there's not enough time to do that. Maybe we got to rethink it. But
That was
let's
where
recognize
that's where
that
my
what we
thinking
talked
was
about.
timeline wise.
we're up
That's where I was
against-
starting to come from. 'cause
we're up
we-
against the state changes.
We've been a month.
Okay. And we're
Yeah.
up against the state regulatory changes.
So
Well, all I can say, Brian, is 2 people said that they could do stick built. The other 3 were adamant that they would have to look at modular.
please remove that from the table. It's getting annoying.
What time is that?
Her
I
time's
don't
up.
recognize your time limit.
Can we have next meeting? I mean, I feel like
Okay,
I'm
so-
confident to make a decision, but I thought where we left it, we were gonna present the 3. I know we don't,
we did.
sound like we
That-
don't
that
wanna
is
do
where
that
we
now.
left it.
I mean, I don't know.
Well, I thought we
I was
left
hoping to
order
try to move it along because my
I
fear
understand what you're saying.
is now, because we've gone a month with no meetings essentially,
Mm-hmm.
with 3 weeks, that if we try to bring them down and schedule them to present something before the voters, we're at least a couple of weeks out from that. Then we're another couple of weeks after that before we meet again to try to do a decision unless we warn special meetings. So now we're pushing into end of July into August, and we still haven't even made a decision. And then if we make a decision, then we start the whole process of getting the design set. My fear is we're not going to make the November ballot. That's my fear. That's where I was coming from with my suggestion. I just wanted to lay out my thinking process.
I'll just say I
see what you're
agree. I mean,
saying.
it's a give and take, right?
Yeah.
But I agree. We are brushing up against that. We need to take action.
So how come we haven't received anything as far as what we requested? We requested a comparable size. I thought that's what we left it, to be a request to those 3 people, three groups.
I don't think any of us actually requested. We discussed it, but I
thought
don't.
that's what we said when we got out of that session.
We said that I thought Michael was going to go back to all 5 respondents, well, 4 of the 5, and ask about the 2,400. But then Linda made this was the sequence. That's what we'd said we were going to do, and then I think that was preempted by, we should really visit a town hall first.
Okay.
And that made more sense. So, and now based on the feedback, I think what we're hearing is 3,000 is not enough.
Or 2,400 is definitely not.
2,400 is not enough.
24 is
Right.
not. And their layout of the town clerk's office, if you talk to several clerks or you talk to several attorneys and title searchers, it's very functional the way it is, and they have ample room. These books are large that they're taking down, and they need elbow room. And now we're having attorneys spill into our working area in here because you need space, and it's set up very reasonable.
Yes, we agree. But there is some infunctionality
In a couple of
Yes.
areas, yes, I
Yes.
agree. That's why I said I would modify, I would tweak it a little bit.
And we were concerned with the lack of handicap necessities. If you have somebody who is wheelchair bound, there's no way for them to roll in and meet with the town clerk, and
I did notice that.
the counter was a little too high for somebody who might be in a wheelchair. So, I mean, those were some things that, yeah, it's okay. But that was feedback direct from that town clerk as well, Linda, is if we could do it all over again, we wish we thought
There were
about
things they would
these
definitely
things.
Should have done, right.
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 Like, you need to include your generator
Yeah.
also in this proposal.
Right.
Instead of doing it after the fact. They were able to obtain a grant, but it would have been less costly to install it if it had been part of
Yep.
the installation process to begin with.
Then after the fact.
I thought it's very efficient. It's a very efficient building. And their heat pumps that they have installed basically are not used as much as you would think, and basically turned on for maintenance purposes. That goes to show you how tight the building really is.
Right.
The meeting room for the select board, perfectly ample size. There were 24 chairs set up, and Julie looked at it, and it's sufficient room to vote in. It leaves for extra work area, meeting areas for others to use at other times. The voting booths were stored in a closet right off of that area, so it had a lot of pluses. And that building cost, they built that for $700,000 in 2014. So, you know, I know prices definitely have gone up. So I don't know what a building like that today would cost. But it's a good visual of what 3,000 square feet buys.
If I understand it correctly, if you're driving to Williamstown and you look at that new police station on the right, that's a modular.
Yeah. Well, it's added, the modular added onto the house.
To what, that's what it was, a
Turner
house. Yep. Okay.
Okay, so,
I'd like
Go
to make a motion to adjourn the meeting and go into executive session.
Do we get through the?
Well, did we-
I was gonna say, so we're just
I think we
not gonna,
There's nothing we're gonna talk about it at the next meeting.
so that's, okay.
well, hang on, so we're going to vote on apples and oranges at the next meeting, is what I'm hearing, because, we don't want the others to come in at 2,400 square feet.
I thought
But
I
maybe
heard-
we gotta ask that one to say, well, what if it was 3,000?
Do you think,
Or 3,600 rather.
well, if we reach out to them
34,
and ask them, say tomorrow, have Michael reach out to them and ask them, what could you do for 3,000 square feet?
Or actually 34 to 36.
34 to 36.
And then,
Just to keep it
and then
comparable.
kind of,
Keep
keep
it
it comparable. And then we could just have that in our inbox, so at least.
Try to get a
at least
response
we're-
from them
And then we
within,
come in, no.
by the time we have our next meeting and go
This
from
one
there.
here, the first proposal was approximately 35.
Yeah. Yep.
No, but that's what we're trying to say, is that we
And
want
this
everybody on the
was-
same page.
Right, and this was well thought out. Everybody was well interviewed just for this proposal back 2000, whatever year it was. I don't even remember anymore.
I know. I still think that
Is that the one
I still
that,
think that it would
they
be
had the whole
fair
committee
to
that
allow the
Lamb and
voters at the town of
Pownal,
Pownal
That was the first
to at
one.
least hear from the
the
top
Taj
three
Mahal, I
and
heard.
give their opinion, ask their questions, and be
Maybe
part
to
of the
you.
process.
I just,
I know.
that's what I was
Or
told.
meet
All right,
one and-
Well, all right. Well, to Marlena's point, how about this? Is the board still comfortable with trying to put something before the voters with the three that we had narrowed it down to before, and do that?
We took that vote before we took another discussion. I think in our next meeting, we should come out of that with all five on the table, and then we decide.
I thought it was
five
the
of us.
three.
No, I thought it was the three with the, with
Well,
the
hang on.
inquiry, with the
Apples to apples,
inquiry we
right?
said.
Well,
We
hold
took,
on, here
we
comes-
took, we took
I'm
those,
sorry.
we took the five, we narrowed it down before we had the discussion about the disparate size and going back and getting the size information and doing a town hall visit. So I think what we need to do is pretty much the same thing we did before and put all five on the table, but I'm not suggesting that we prolong the decision process coming out of that meeting.
With the
You can vote for
decision.
the same ones if you want, but with the
But
decision
re-vote
coming.
again?
But we vote again because.
We have
because
the
we
one
need-
that come in with the smaller one with a comparable size,
Right.
Okay.
and then
Exactly.
redo it.
So
Okay.
it's not a delay, we just come back in, we decide, and if everybody votes for the same ones, then
Then we make the decision by the
we
next
make the
meeting. then.
decision. On the next meeting, we make the decision who we're going forward with.
And then can we move forward and pick a date immediately, like maybe now, to warn, to see about having whomever is selected to come back and present to the voters?
I think we would have to meet with whoever we select to see what kind of time frame they would need to. I don't have the schedule in front of me. They all submitted a schedule on how long they thought it would take. I don't have it off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
One of your selections from the previous meeting involves going and looking at the old school.
Right.
That's correct.
That needs to
And we-
happen if,
Right.
you know.
And we did actually get
And
an
we got an
invitation.
email from,
Right.
the lady.
Miss
All right, well
Helen.
then how
I've
about
gotta
this?
reach out and,
Just, okay, how about this? Michael, reach out to the one that had the smaller proposal. I don't want to name names
The
on.
last
That's fine.
right?
Right.
yep,
So, yeah,
Tell me when we, when you adjourn
Okay,
the
well, I was
meeting.
gonna say also help coordinate a visit for us to go visit over there.
Yeah, with
To
Mr.
what, visit to
For
what?
Messina. So
I'm gonna reach out directly because of my work schedule, so I'll
That
reach out
works.
directly and coordinate for a
and
weekend.
and if it's easier for each of us to meet and go over there individually, then so be it.
And to that point, that was actually kind of important because
Yeah.
the condition of that building is going to have everything to do with the feasibility of moving
This
it.
is true.
We heard from many that the feasibility of that or the risk associated with it, but none of them had
They
been
hadn't looked
in
at
it.
it.
They'd never
Right.
looked at it. They talked about anecdotally.
And it was
other-
also said
other-
that nobody had been in there since before.
No,
winter.
one group went to it, they looked in the windows, they walked around it, they looked at the structure of it, they did not coordinate to go inside of it. And then they gave us, as you said, anecdotal information regarding other moves that they have made and what the costs associated with bringing an item such as that up to meet Vermont state codes would be, or
Right,
could look
right.
like.
But important to remember that what they said
And we
was,
weren't provided that information.
important to remember though is that given that even if you were to triple the cost of that move, which is basically what they were talking about, it's still competitive. So
All right, so let's schedule. You said you'll reach out to them
I'm gonna reach out directly through, yeah, and schedule a site visit.
for yourself or for the board.
I can do, you know what, I will pick a date that works with my work schedule and I'll let you all know what date that is, and if it
Well,
works for you,
they-
Well,
join
they-
along.
baseball's
They offered.
Listen, my
Baseball's
schedule's
over?
wide open
Okay.
during the week, so
And they
Okay.
offered to do a group or individual or
This is
whatever
true.
we
Yeah,
would
So-
they'll do
Right.
whatever. Yeah.
So I would be happy to be part of a group if
Okay.
it's on a weekend.
Okay.
But
You can take the red
Weekends
eye
don't
in.
work for me.
go there for an hour and catch your flight back.
Specifically,
Sleep on the plane.
would you specifically tell me what you'd like me to do?
Okay, so reach out to the one that had the smaller proposal.
Right?
Ask them to just give a ballpark figure for what it would cost for something comparable in what was originally requested. They don't have to go and draw a big picture for us, just a ballpark.
In fact, I thought they had it. I thought they had that. That's what the
Yeah,
second column
he
was.
told
I
me, he
think
told
so,
me what
too.
it would be.
Yeah.
Told me what it would be. I could
I
tell
was
you.
gonna say I don't remember.
I could tell you
they
what
had
it
one
was if
column
you
that
want.
We looked at and we looked at the
think
bottom
so. I was
line, but that
looking
second
for
column
this.
wasn't that
I
the
think
if
this
you
is
were to
the-
add the
Right.
other piece.
Well, then if we already have that information from him, then I don't understand what the issue
I'll
is.
get,
then.
I'll call him. I'll
Because
talk
we
to him.
considered the lower cost, I don't think we even added it together. We didn't even add it together to say this is the cost. We took the lower cost and we compared it to everybody else's cost at 2,400 versus 3,600. And that's what all we gotta do is add the two together. Maybe that's it. If I remember right, there
Is
was a
that,
second.
is that the one?
Yeah, but I thought that there was
I was
an
gonna say,
expense,
Mark.
wasn't there an expense sheet in the back?
No, I think, because I took it apart.
You did.
At least it shows I was looking at it.
But anyway, let's try to coordinate
Was that the thing?
going in to look at the school building.
It was like underneath a piece of.
Did they get that turned over to them?
Oh, that was the other question we
It
had.
has
Who
the school-
owns the building?
I don't think the school board's voted to turn that over yet, have they?
I don't know.
I don't know anything about it.
So that was
I'll have to
another
ask
thing that
Cindy.
we had brought up was, we don't have,
Who owns it?
who owns it and whether or not we have the right to make a decision to move it.
Well, the definitive answer, I believe, right, Harry, was the school board does own it, and it would transfer on July 1st if we don't take action. I believe that's what we
I
understood, but I'm
thought
not
that's
sure.
what it
That's
said, but
So,
I never saw anything in writing. I only heard verbal. That's the problem.
Yeah, well, that's what I want to know because that could
I
throw
don't
a
know.
whole.
I know what you said.
Yeah,
So I
no,
gotta
that's,
keep track of what I just said.
no, it was on, that's what I was told, but I never saw
Did you
it.
find it?
yeah, I just don't remember what.
No, it was the cost sheet.
Right. I didn't bring that in with this one.
This?
Yeah, it's that.
Yeah,
right?
it's the two columns.
It's
Yeah, that's
well, this just lists budgeted costs phase 1 and phase 2.
right. But if you go down that first column at the bottom, isn't it 652?
Yep,
And that's
Yeah.
the smaller size.
Right.
And I believe the second, I'm not sure what the second column is, but if the second column is the additional.
that's phase 2.
Right, but
It's phase
But
two
what
added.
is phase two?
Right.
Is phase two adding another 1,200 square feet, or is phase two putting the vault in place,
Right.
or doing the foundation or whatever?
Well, I was gonna say in the description of the work, it should say,
Well, we're getting a little off, right?
Yes.
What we want to do is have him get the information.
Yep.
well, what up?
Yeah,
well,
so,
well,
how
actually, if we had the information right now, then we wouldn't have to reach out to them.
Well, how about
We
this?
don't.
Let's
I don't
have
think we do.
Michael either
do it
reach
with
out
more
or just
square
tell us
footage.
what it is if we already have it, and put it in our inbox. And that way, when we come in next time, we can make a decision.
I'm fine with that. Is it,
Okay.
everybody else good
Yeah.
with that then?
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
So get us that, Michael, please.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Thank you.
Marlena, please reach out and try to
Yep.
schedule something for us.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn our meeting.
I'll second
No,
that.
No.
Make a motion to
Oh,
enter
see, I
into
didn't-
executive session.
Sorry. I'd like to make a motion to enter into executive session for
Just 'cause you
memorandum of understanding.
Put your timepiece.
I second that.
All right, we have a motion to go into executive session for the memorandum of understanding.
Where's
Any
the other one?
discussion?
I've got through this
Nope.
pile twice.
All in favor,
Where's the
say
other
aye.
one that doesn't have
Aye.
all this on it? All the changes. I had it.